This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
He'd like to go forward.
Okay. Okay, good evening, folks. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Commission for the month of May 3rd, 2018. My name is Vern Carlson, and I'm the chairman of the commission. Before we get going, just let me introduce our staff. Out to my extreme right is Jonathan Bodwell, our town engineer. Next to him is Alan Fredrickson, Land Use Administrator. To my left is Mary Lee Radjuski. She's our court reporter. Next to her is Pam Miller, is our staff secretary. And with that, with the commission.
Ed Homa, alternate.
Jim Giletti, regular member.
Teresa Ranciato-Vili, regular member.
Ron Penton, vice chair.
Richard Wilson, secretary.
Louis Borelli, alternate.
Okay, before we get going, I want to turn the meeting just briefly over to Teresa.
I just wanted to mention, and of course everybody on this commission and on staff, and some of you may have known Bob Criscolo, the engineer who worked with us really, really closely, and he died a few weeks ago, and I just wanted to mention that, you know, everybody on this commission is thinking of him, and we will sorely miss him. He was, I'm going to say it now, the best engineer that ever came before us. So, thank you, Vern.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you.
That being said, God bless him. Now we'll get back to business. Okay, for those of you who may not know how this works, it's the applicant will present the application, the commission will have their say, and then we'll open up on the public hearings to the public, and they will have their input. And with that, we would go from there over to site plans, which there is no public input, and of course there is no input in deliberation. With that being said, if you want to read in the,
Ask if there's any changes.
yes, is there any changes?
Well, yes, there are quite a few changes. Item number 4, 57 Dodge Avenue is postponed to next month's meeting. They're still working on that septic system issue with QVHD. Item number 5, 100 Powdered Metals Drive is off. That's been withdrawn by the applicant. Item number 6 and 7, been a request to continue so that they can develop their drawings a little bit further. Those concern 400 Sackett Point Road. So those are both continued to June. Also, item number 8 is postponed. That's 37 Nettleton Avenue. They have a change in the plan involving one of their other, the only other tenant on the property. They'd like to do something else, and it just came up in the last 3 or 4 days. So they're going to revise their plans and come back in June.
Okay,
The other item I just wanted to mention is item number 9, 40 Middletown. We had a request from the engineer to put this item off. However, the owner's here and the owner's representative is a contractor, and they would like to go forward with the application. So I guess if there's an engineering question on that, then we might have to continue it, but they would like to proceed and to present.
okay, you want to get it open and then input it. Okay, when some time is here, you'll be on. Okay, with that, if you would, Rich, if you'd read in the 824.
Right. Oh, I think it's number 9. Okay, referral.
You,
What's that?
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. P 18-8-13, application of the town of North Haven for the construction of a new Veterans Monument.
Alan's going to take it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Alan Fredrickson, Land Use Administrator. For the record, it's unspelled. There you go. Anyway, The First Selectman has been meeting with the veterans for quite some time, a couple of years, to try and develop another monument that would honor eligible North Haven veterans who have served in wars since Vietnam. So we have a World War I and Civil War plaque, and we have a World War II monument. We have another monument that covers Korea and Vietnam. That monument is featured in this photoshopped rendering, if you will. Korea is to the left and Vietnam is to the right. And if you look at the plan of the green, this monument would be attached to an extension of the Korea and Vietnam Veterans Monument. It would lie to the east, and you would walk through the Vietnam and Korea monument to get to this monument, and it would honor all of the conflicts and be expandable to the greatest extent possible for those who have served since then, which would involve Persian Gulf, Iraq, Somalia, Afghanistan, et cetera, et cetera. I think the names are already qualified, and the First Selectman staff has dealt with that. And I think they've gone out to bid. I don't know if they have an end result on that, but they're looking to begin construction very soon.
Okay, Alan, thank you. Does the commission have any questions in respect to this?
I think it's something that's overdue, so I have no issue.
No,
Okay.
fully support it.
Think it looks good?
Okay, very good. Alan,
we-
thank you.
We do that now or go into
Yeah, let's do it
deliberations?
right now.
I'll make a motion that we give a positive referral for the 824 project for the memorial.
I will second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it carries, and that's it for that. Very good. Oh, very good. Now, the first public application we have is the Bradley Home, which is P18-05. You want to read that in, Rich?
Sure. So P18-05, continuation of application of the Bradley Home, Inc. applicant, proposed amendment to the North Haven zoning regulations to add sections 5.1.3.17 to establish independent living facilities with supportive services as a use in the IL 80 zoning district. The proposed amendment is on file in the Land Use Office and in the office of the town clerk.
Okay. Dennis?
Thank you, Mr.
I see you're
Chairman.
ready.
Members of the commission, for your record, my name is Dennis Senaviva. I'm an attorney with the Senaviva Law Firm in Meriden. I'm also a member of the Board of Directors of the Bradley Home, which is a licensed facility in Meriden. We've been here, excuse me, for some time now. Last month, we made another presentation. I think the public hearing was left open because there were concerns about a couple things. Number one, primarily, the commission wanted to know whether or not language could be placed in this text amendment requiring that any development be done as a for-profit operation. And I believe that, although I haven't seen a letter from Attorney Coppola, she did call me and indicate that she was going to give a letter to the commission indicating that such a requirement could be placed into the text amendment. I had already sent an email to Alan indicating that the Bradley Home was fine with that, and so we would support and adopt that requirement that should this be approved, that any development of this nature would have to be a for-profit entity in the IL 80 zone for this use. I think the only other concern that I remember from April 2nd that was outstanding was there was a staff comment from the fire chief. And since that time, I've been following your budget, the North Haven budget process, and I know that he had requested in his budget, just before writing that staff memo, that he get some additional firefighters for his 8 full-time firefighters for the fire department. I saw too that in the budget, as it went through its different processes, that that request was not honored, and that there are, under the proposed budget, the fire department wouldn't receive the 8 firefighters requested. It would get 2 out of 4 requested replacement. Well, that was police, I'm sorry. There were no new firefighters. But I think what happened is the Board of Finance, your Board of Finance apparently was concerned enough at a public hearing on the budget, again, as reported in the newspaper, it was presented that the town was concerned about the fire department's ability to provide emergency services throughout the town, not just in any new development. And so I think there were a couple things that the Board of Finance talked about, and I think, again, there's a discussion tonight on your budget, as I understand it. But in any event, a committee is being formed to examine the options for emergency medical services. It will include the fire chief, the director of finance, and 2 board of finance members. So that's, again, there's an effort to address that concern town-wide, not just as this particular development. And I think also in these reports, it indicates that while budget issues are always tight in difficult times, one of the things the first selectman mentioned in the article was that it will be a year or 2, you'll start generating the additional revenue from Amazon. He identified 19 new businesses opening in the town of North Haven, and that those would generate additional tax dollars, so that apparently this concern, which is a concern town-wide, is one that's being addressed to the level of a committee being formed in an effort to try to meet the considerations posed by the fire chief. I can tell you that as a for-profit operation, this site, should this be approved and developed in the way that the Bradley Home intends, you're talking about generating somewhere between, and these are really early preliminary numbers, but somewhere between $600,000 to $1 million worth of additional tax dollars. I mean, so you're really talking about generating the kind of revenue that can certainly also assist well in providing any emergency services that may be appropriate for this location. So I think I made comments last month about the fact that I had been assured that this was an issue that to be addressed by the town. I suspect that, again, if it's a town-wide issue, it's being addressed at the proper levels, and we think that this development actually can provide additional revenues that can assist in that respect. So, you know, we made the presentation last time. I think those are the 2 issues, unless the board can remember, or the commission rather can remember other outstanding matters. I think that was it, and I believe, Alan, you did get a letter from Attorney Coppola, hopefully, or a memo indicating.
We did, and we've distributed, along with your email.
Okay.
We distributed that letter to the commission.
Because she was kind enough to call me as it was being drafted, so hopefully we've addressed those 2 concerns.
Okay?
Thank you.
So that brings your conclusion?
I'm done.
Okay, you're here. Okay, let me get to the commission first there. Ron, you have any additional questions?
All of my questions have been addressed.
I haven't. Okay. Rich, you got any further questions for him?
Yeah, just as a side kind of a hook. This is part of the Bradley Home up in Meriden?
It would not be. The Bradley Home would be the developer, but it would be a source of revenue, but it would not be affiliated directly with the Bradley Home. That's not to say that if you owned a unit in this development and at some point you needed the sort of care the Bradley Home could provide, there certainly would be a relationship that would provide some sort of nexus, but it wouldn't be the Bradley Home operating this facility. I think that, again, as we've been ferreting out the mechanics and all of this, the procedure, the process, I mean, it really makes sense that these will be condominiums. I think I mentioned it last time when there were some questions whether co-ops or condos, but I think co-ops are just a difficult concept for lawyers to understand, let alone for marketing people and buyers to comprehend. So I think the condominium concept is a lot easier. But the Bradley Home would be the developer.
So in Meriden, are they tax-free in
Yes,
Meriden?
yeah. So it would not be the entity doing this development.
So would they be able to come in here when this is all approved and then flip it into a non-taxable
No, they wouldn't own it. Again, it would be individual owners for the units, so that they would not own the development. And they have no interest in doing that. Plus, I would suspect that if you approve this, you'd put the requirement that it be a for-profit entity to own and operate the facility.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that it, Rich?
That's it.
Lou? You okay?
Did you read this?
Teresa?
Okay, well, first we have the letter from Mary White. We want to just include that.
Despise it.
It's
Still gonna be tough.
Mary had asked that letter be read aloud. I told her I would request that, but I wasn't sure that the commission would do
I
it.
don't mind her reading that at all. Teresa, you want to read that in?
Sure.
I mean, if you'd like to, or I'll have a secretary.
No problem. I just
Okay.
want to make sure she wanted, their Planning and Zoning Commission. I am unable to attend the meeting because I am attending the budget hearing where I will once again ask the Board of Finance to include in the budget 2 firemen paramedics so as to address the public health and safety hazard of only 1 fireman paramedic on per shift and the simultaneous calls for emergency medical service and advanced life support that are going unanswered by the fire department. The 1 fireman paramedic on shift goes out on the first 911 call. Thank you so much for your extreme dedication and countless hours of time and effort you devote as volunteer members of the North Haven Planning and Zoning Commission. You are truly appreciated! Exclamation point. Regarding the proposed Bradley Home zoning amendment to establish independent living facilities, please be sure language is included for a maximum number of units such as 300 to be permitted in town. Please be sure language is included which states the units in the independent living facilities with supportive services will be for sale, and language is included which states units will be taxable to the town. Be sure the word rental in letter F, affordability housing in ILFSS developments, has been changed to purchase since units in the independent living facilities will be for sale. Of concern to me is the fact that there is a public health and safety hazard of only 1 fireman paramedic per shift. These developments will further strain all already strained fire public safety services due to the fact that residents, a potential of 400 if 200 units are built, 600 residents if 300 units are built, and these residents will be 55 and older and seniors. The fire chief's letter specifically states the Bradley Home Amendment, should it pass, will result in senior developments where the fire department will not be able to respond to emergency medical calls for service. Another concern of mine is relative to this proposed height of 50 feet. With the Upper Washington Avenue multi-use amendment, developers came back before P&Z and requested new height limits. They didn't like the height approved and stated the property is industrial and they should be entitled to have the maximum height allowed. They are building residential developments, not industrial, so no, they are not entitled to the same exact height as with an industrial business. Please include language that would prevent changes to the amendment such as this. Thank you for reading my letter and for considering my ideas. Mary White.
Very good.
Okay?
Thank you, Teresa. Thank you.
You're very
And-
welcome.
And thank you, Mary White. Okay, Teresa, you have anything further?
I do. So, again, the fire chief has indicated that his comments, remarks are the same as the previous month. We need to understand that we have, what is it, Alan, 109 units of senior assisted going up on Clintonville Road?
Clintonville Manor site,
Clintonville
yeah.
Manor site. This will add another couple of hundred. I know there's a budget hearing going on tonight, but I don't know how we don't take into consideration the fire chief's comments on this property when we take them into consideration on other properties. And we weigh those very heavily. So I'm still concerned about this development. That's it for me right now, Vern.
Yeah, well, just take that in, Dennis.
Well, let me follow up with that.
Yeah,
because
I will, Jim.
Along
I'm
the
sorry.
same lines,
I
because
just
he's
wanna
going to
make
answer
sure
the
he-
same thing.
Make sure that he understands that he's going to respond to this.
I think he understands it. Let me first of all say, I've come full circle. I like the project.
Yeah, I
I
really do
didn't
like it.
initially, and I do, and you've convinced me that it's a good thing. You're willing to make the amendments so that we don't have the taxable issues, and Jennifer, our town attorney, did give us a letter told us the language that she proposed that you put in there to make sure that happens and that the units are owned by people and they can be taxed. But where Teresa is, and where Mary White is where I am as well, and I think there's a problem, because, and let me read this very clearly. The fire chief's note says, "Please note that the intended use and occupancy of this project will further draw upon existing fire and EMS response assets that are unable to adequately respond to and provide a consistent level of emergency service." So we've got to take into consideration the health, safety, and welfare of our town. And that's why the 109, we already got 109 units we've approved, this is potentially 200 more. And he's telling us that we don't have enough. And I hear what you are reading, and we all know what's going on with the budget, and God knows what's going to ultimately come out of the budget. But we had another application where our fire chief said we need, in that case it was a hydrant, and we said, listen, make the fire chief happy. And the applicant did. In that case, and we got something back from the fire chief says he's happy. We don't have anything from the fire chief saying, I'm okay. So he's telling us we don't have enough. I understand that's not your problem, it's a town problem, but I still think, and we can talk about it during deliberations, because, you know, the question is, what do we do when our fire professional, and we've given a lot of credence to our police, and I think both of them are excellent, and we respect their opinions. When our professionals are telling us, look, we don't have enough, we can't take care of this, it makes me very nervous to put up something that's going to have 200 more units that's going to draw on services that are not, he's saying, not sufficient now. So what do we do?
I have an answer.
Okay.
Boy, can I?
Well, yeah, just, he'll answer when, you all set, Jim?
I am.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I mean, my personal comment, I agree with Teresa and Joe, and I agree with the fire marshal. However, I think we could find ourselves going down a slippery slope. Since I've been on the commission, we've never asked an applicant to address, as is admitted, a town budgetary issue. I mean, we have a fire commission, we have a finance commission, we have Board of Selectmen, who in my opinion, that's what they're tasked to do. We're a planning and zoning commission, not a budgetary commission. So while, again, I agree and understand with the concerns, I personally think it's inappropriate to ask an applicant to comment on something that you have no control over, which is the town budget. So if it was up to me, I wouldn't go down that road. So I can't tell you how to respond or not, but that's my opinion.
Rich, any comments?
Not at this time, I don't know.
You don't have anything? Well, if you have anything, now's the time to,
Well, we're still going to get some
it
public
seems-
comment to it.
yeah,
So you'll get another shot.
yeah, okay, Lou?
Not right now, no.
No. Well, you know, it's just a situation, I agree with everybody here. Everybody here. However, we cannot stop totally development in North Haven because of the comments that the fire marshal made and the problems that we do face. But development is going to take place one way or another, whether we add fire and police to take care of this or we do not. Something, you can't just stop development is the way I see it at this point. But I'm willing to hear from the public and I'm willing to hear from your
Well,
your
yeah, he told
response.
me he had an answer.
I
so
do.
Here's the,
Yeah, okay.
here's the answer.
You want to get the answer?
Yes.
Before we go to public? Good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. Come on.
You know, the applicant looks at it, I think, a little differently than the town. The applicant looks at this issue as a problem for the applicant, because as a marketing matter, can you imagine you're marketing this to your parents, and you're saying, you got a beautiful place, look at this place, Mom, Dad, we can't protect you there, but it's really beautiful. I think it's an enormous marketing issue for the Bradley home. I think it's a problem. And I've addressed that with some of your town officials, saying, you know, this is I agree, it's unfair. I think it's unfair. I mean, you could have told us that we need more policemen because there's too many crimes. There could have been more people to plow the roads. You don't have enough, street plows. But it's an issue that's now been put in writing, and so now it's a concern of the fire chief. So what we've done is we've said, and let's take it one step further. If this gets approved, which I still hope it does, we've got to go through a special permit process, and then the fire marshal will get a very good shot at the application before you vote on whether or not to approve it. The risk is the Bradley home. It has to now go through and get the engineers on board at substantial expense to draw up the plans, get them submitted, and present them to you. And we have to meet all of the four corners of your regulation. We've already begun addressing some of the concerns that are mentioned in the fire chief's comments. For example, discussions, should this move forward, will ensue with an ambulance service. We're going to talk to them about maybe having a contract with the development, so that if the town is unable to provide the sort of emergency services that citizens and the developers in the town should expect, there is a backup. Because I don't want anyone there, I don't want to live there and not have that sort of protection in that development. So I don't disagree with you, Jim. I just think that the problem is also the developer's problem. And, the board of directors met and talked about it. Should we even proceed? I mean, is this such a big issue that we shouldn't even want to move forward in North Haven? Because it's significant. Again, how do you market the property? It better be really nice looking. But I'm given assurances, to the extent that any assurances can be given, that this is a problem that the town is very sensitive to. I read it in the newspaper too, besides hearing it from people here in town, that they're creating a committee. They need to address it, not just for us, but town-wide. And so my hope is that the Bradley home is not wasting money by, if you approve this, by hiring engineers, hiring architects, coming in with a full set of plans for your review and approval. And under a special permit, as you guys and girls know far better than I do, you have a lot of discretion. And if the fire marshal still feels the same way, I suspect we'll be coming in either with our own emergency service plan as part of our application. Because in order to move forward, there has to be protection for the residents, no doubt about it.
Okay.
So we're aware.
Let me ask you a question. So, because what concerns me, and this is, I don't want to get, I don't want to use the term rope-a-doped, but because I know that's not your intent. But I don't want the amendment to get approved, and then what could happen to us is that somebody comes in with a site plan and say, wait a minute, we met all your regulations, don't tell me now you don't have fire, because you approved the amendment and it allowed this in there. So that's what I'm concerned with. I hear what you're saying, and that we're trying to get there, but that's really strong language by our fire chief. Very strong. I mean, we don't usually see something like that. So if we put on the amendment that you've got to satisfy the fire chief's concerns and that we get something from him before the site plan can be approved, would you agree to that? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot, you understand?
Yeah.
But he's saying we don't have enough. He's the guy that, for me, I rely on him when he says we don't have enough. I don't know, and I hear what Vern's saying, and it doesn't mean we can't have any development, but 200 more units of units for older people are going to heavily tax or
Right.
further tax our fire. The fire people go out on emergency calls, as you know, much more than they go out on fires, until recently anyway. So I'm worried. How do we bring in, we just added 109 units, now we're going to add 200 more that are definitely going to tax it further. What do we do? I mean, he's telling us, look, we're not able to adequately respond. And we're going to say, okay, because you say, well, we're going to work it out. If I saw something from him that said, you guys had talked, and they're going to assure me that they're going to provide for emergency response, I'm on board. I'm with you. He hasn't said that.
We're not building 200 units, in 10 months, right? So it's going to be all based on marketing. I mean, you can't sell units that you don't have some pre-sold. It's just the bankers won't do that for you. So this is May. You approve it in May, you've got the appeal period. So now we've got to hire the engineers and come back in July, August, get an approval. Construction doesn't start till 2019. Have things changed? I don't know.
I don't know
No,
either.
we don't know either.
That's the
though.
problem.
Yeah.
I don't know either.
But again, you can't, so I think that, I understand where you're coming from. I just think you need, hopefully you need to understand that it's the applicant who has the risk. I don't
No,
think it's,
I hear you, but I'm not worried about the applicant's risk. I hear you, that's your concern.
Yeah.
Right.
My concern is we're a board for the town of
Right,
North Haven.
right.
So it's not the applicant's risk. If we allow this to be built and somebody gets hurt, then isn't there criticism back at us as, how do you do this when the fire chief told
Well,
you you shouldn't do
But
this?
there's also the risk we have other people in town. If you build this and there's 200 more people, then what happens to the people who are here now?
Dennis, let me ask you this. Do you have, as Jim spoke to you in respect to satisfying the fire chief's wishes as to put in the amendment that you would satisfy his conditions? Would you have any problem with that at this point?
I think that's a delegation of your authority, but,
It may be.
you know.
Jim, were you proposing to put it in the amendment or just?
Well, the reason I'm
ask for
saying in the
comment?
amendment, and this is, you can maybe able to tell me better, I'm just concerned, because you're telling me we'll get another bite at the apple when they come in
Right.
for the special permit. But if the special permit complies with everything that's in our regulation, I don't know how we can tell them no, because the fire chief's concerns, it's already there.
You did to the truck terminal. It met all
They
your
didn't
four
come for,
corners.
they didn't come for the amendment for us.
No, I understand, but, so you have the authority to deny applications
Wow.
that don't meet the
I
requirements.
think if you asked the lawyer for them, they disagreed that we had the ability to do that. Now, it didn't get appealed.
And that
but
wasn't
they
even a special permit.
I understand.
Right.
But they came in and told us, you can't do this, and we did it, but, it hasn't been appealed, but that's what my concern is. I like the project, I really do, and I
Excellent.
like everything that you've done. Like I said, I've come full circle, I just don't know what to do in the face of our fire chief telling us we have a problem. That's my reservation. And I
Dennis.
don't know how to solve that reservation. We all have it, I get it, it's a political issue in town, or it's a budget issue, I get that. The fire chief says he wants 8, not our province to say what the town can or can't do, but it is our province to decide, okay, is this in the best, because you're asking for us to amend our regulations. Is
Understood.
it in the best interest of the town? It is, in my opinion, with the exception of the possible fire issue.
I'll leave
Jim?
one final thought, and then I'll defer certainly. This zone
Yep.
permits by right, not special permit, an apartment hotel. I mean, so we can come in under that application, but we're not game players, and it does, I don't need this commission to amend anything. We didn't do it that way. So, I mean, whatever use you make on that property, I suspect is the same concern that the fire department and the police department, and all the municipal departments are going to have that are stretched, because most of them are stretched in every community. So, I understand. At the end of the
I
day,
get
we think the project is a good project. We know that by the time it gets to the point of development, will be at least a year from now, perhaps longer. Hopefully, things won't have changed dramatically in a negative way that makes it even...
Hopefully in a positive way.
Yeah, because what's happened then is that, and again, it's not your concern, it's mine, we've gone through the expense of getting all this approvals, doing all that engineering and the legal work, and then all of a sudden, it doesn't make any more sense, because from a marketing perspective, the first time that there's the headline about the fire's inability to provide services, these units are not as marketable as they once were.
I hear you. And I hope that our budget solves this issue,
Yeah.
and that we don't have that problem. But God knows what's going to happen.
I understand.
with the budget.
Thank you.
Okay. Dennis, if you give me a chance
Sure.
to get the public input, and then we'll come back to you. Okay, we're going to open this up to the public, and if there's anyone here that would like to speak in favor of this application, now this is in favor, I'd like you to come to the mic and state your name and what you have to say. Anyone here in favor? There must be somebody here in favor.
They were here before.
Seeing no hands.
They were here
yeah.
before. It's not like they didn't
Yeah,
come. They were
they're
here
just not
before.
here tonight. They're at the
Yeah.
budget meeting.
Oh, I see, okay.
Would be my
I thought
guess.
he was here.
I spoke at the last meeting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can repeat myself.
I would like you to repeat yourself at this point.
Jeez.
My name is Jerry Remoulade. I'm a board member at Quail Run Village Association. The condos that are abutting this proposed site. And our owners met with the developer and the attorney a couple of months ago, and there was overall approval for this project.
Okay.
I remember
good.
that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, is there anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition? Anyone here opposed to it? Dennis?
No, I really don't have anything new, but thank you. I think, again, at the end of the day, I think the text amendment is, after work with Alan, it's well drafted. I think you've got all the components that will make sure that if this development gets built, it'll be certainly taxable, and the plan is to make it attractive, something that has that wow factor. And we look forward to your support. Thank you.
Okay. Hearing none from anyone else, the commission has anything else to say?
I do not.
Okay. That closes this public hearing. And we will take this up in deliberation. Okay. Next public hearing is P18-06.
Continuation of the re-subdivision application of Michael and Mary Agnoffi, applicants and owners for the 2 lots relative to 83 Half Mile Road, map 24, lot 30, plan entitled
It's not what you told me.
Proposed Property Lines, property located at number 83 Half Mile Road, North Haven, Connecticut, prepared by Criscola Engineering, LLC, dated 1/24/18, revised 2/27/18, scale is 1 inch for 100 feet, R40 zoning.
Okay, sir.
Jim Preddy with Criscola Engineering. We went over this last month. We're creating 1 new lot and some existing land that Agnoffi's own. Sounded like we were in a good place, just other than some housekeeping issues. And then the comment from the fire chief kind of came at the end about extending the fire hydrant, or extending the water main and adding a fire hydrant. I know that the applicants have met with the fire chief, and if it comes to one or the other, the preference would be to put sprinklers in the house over extending a water main and adding a fire hydrant. I gotta ask the question though, what do we do in houses that are being built on roads that do not have water? If this is a new regulation or a new rule in the town that we're gonna require sprinklers in single-family homes, going forward with other developments, it's something that we're gonna need to know.
So I don't see it as a new regulation or a new rule. What the fire department asked for was an extension of the main and a hydrant, and he, trying to help out your applicant, gave a waiver on that if they put in a sprinkler. So I see this as a one-time case that where the fire marshal helped you guys out.
Right, and the rule in the past has always been if you're doing a subdivision and the property is within 200 feet of a water main, the main would need to be extended and usually another hydrant added, and we're more than 300 feet away. So we're, you follow
Are
what I'm
you
saying?
not okay with what the fire chief has offered? Are you trying to muddy up this application with some future plans?
I'm not trying to muddy up this application.
I think your question's valid. I question when you're asking the question.
I ask because it's a very expensive option for a homeowner to add into a house. So I need to ask the question if this is going to be something that's going to be required more often than not.
I don't think we can answer that.
Let me just say this. Similarly, as we said before, what the fire chief said is, for this house, the hydrant's too far away, in his opinion. So we either bring a hydrant closer or come to some other conclusion. So he gave an option. I don't know how it happened. It says the fire chief and owners have reached an agreement to eliminate the need for an additional hydrant.
They did meet, I wasn't part of that, but they did.
I know, but it says they've agreed to eliminate the need for the hydrant by installing sprinklers. So this is a situation, I don't remember the fire chief telling us before that somebody's developing something that's too far from a hydrant.
Right.
It hasn't come up, that I remember it coming up.
Well, let me just mention this, Winding Brook on Patton Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The water was a great distance away.
No, got to bring the water.
Over a mile.
Bring the water up, right.
Well, and they did not bring the water, and what the fire marshal said, there were 6 new homes there, it said if you put the residential suppression system in.
Right.
So that's the only other time I
Yeah, but
remember
I mean, it's the
that.
same thing, so we've run into it before, and it's like, listen, the fire chief is telling us there's the hydrant is too far away, we got to do something, and that's why we got to where we were.
The other concern he had was, again, the distance and the amount of hose that they have available, and how quickly, or how long it takes to lay that hose. So I understand what you're saying, but part of his concern was the fact that it's a fairly deep lot. I realize that the access strip falls within the requirement that's stipulated in the zoning regs at 300 feet max. But the lot is large, and the house could go in some other location that's even farther away. If it was a standard, 40,000 square foot lot, beyond there, I don't know. He might have felt differently about it. But when I spoke with him myself, that was a bit of an issue. I don't know what way it's headed. It seems like it is somewhat headed down that road.
Right, and I had to ask the question because if the house is 700 feet, shown on a plan 700 feet from the water main, and you move it 100 feet closer, is that okay now? You know what I mean?
do.
Where's the cutoff?
We're not picking on you or Mr. Aronofsky, really, we're not.
Somehow or another, this came out in your favor, actually, to put the sprinklers in. Who offered the sprinklers? Did you offer the sprinklers?
Again, I wasn't part of the
Wasn't
meeting
there.
between the owner and the fire chief.
I see, okay. Well, I don't know how that came out, all I know is they came back to,
At the end of the day, if that's what's required, that's what they'll do.
Gonna be, wells?
There's
Well
well on
water?
the property.
You gonna have enough water to supply that system?
I don't know.
Some of these wells are weak in the area.
I agree. There is a pond on the property, so chances are the water's probably not that far. As far as that,
Surface water on a pond and well water.
there's a pond right here on the edge of the property, so the well probably does not have to be extremely deep to get a decent amount of water. But until you drill a well, do a test on it, it's hard to say.
well, listen, we're at where we're at, and
I agree.
right now, we're putting the ball in your court. If you'd like to move forward on this, you can go right forward.
Right.
If you would like to continue this, we can certainly continue this, and you can talk to the
No.
Fire chief
Again,
and-
between the
and-
two options, the sprinkler would be the option that they would choose.
I understand, I understand your situation, but it's not it's
No.
not an inexpensive option per se,
Correct.
but, okay.
Thank you.
That it?
That's,
Yes, I believe you're going to ask the public, though. I know at least one person wants to speak.
yeah, go ahead, ask the public, it's public.
Yeah, got everybody here?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Is anyone here in favor of this?
I'm in favor of the pool, of the...
No, sir. Speak up, step up here. Thank you. Would you just state your name and...
Good evening. Hi. My name is Rich DePalma of Culver Lane, formerly right down the road of this property on North Hill Road. My wife and I are seeking to purchase the proposed lot of land on Half Mile Road from Mr. and Mrs. Adonofsky. I usually try to speak off the cuff, but to get all my thoughts here, I just prepared something. and some of it might be a little bit redundant to what Mr. Preddy said. I am asking this evening for the board to approve the creation of this lot without mandating that a residential sprinkler system be installed in the home that we're looking to build. I did speak this past Thursday with Fire Chief Januszewski regarding sprinkler systems. He confirmed what I found out from Mr. John Dembishak from the Connecticut State Fire Marshal's office, that he cannot mandate that a sprinkler system be installed in any single-family home. And because Connecticut is a mini-MAC state, because of that, no fire chief can go against the current state code, which currently cannot require any single-family dwelling in Connecticut to have the system installed. However, the Planning and Zoning Board, as we know, can include this as an aspect of creating the building lot. I would simply ask that it doesn't have to be installed for the following reasons. It was the recommendation of the fire captain in Hamden, who is a close friend of mine, not to install a sprinkler system. He said he believes funds would be better spent installing extra smoke alarms wired directly into the home's electrical system and with battery power as a backup. He also said to have many fire extinguishers located throughout the home. His opinion was that water damage from a sprinkler can be devastating to a home in a different way, of course, than fire, of course, could be. Another reason, I spoke with a building inspector of our town last Tuesday and said sprinklers are still so uncommon, and he thought the funds could be better spent elsewhere. For number 3, for me, the sprinkler system is definitely a financial hardship. It is extremely difficult to stay within the budget when building the home. The cost of the system is estimated, I believe it was the fire chief who told me this, I spoke to many different people, to be approximately between $10,000 and $12,000. And while this price alone may not sound like a deal breaker, when added to the cost of the land, the foundation, the framing, HVAC, all the components of building a home, and numerous known and other known items that go into the construction of the home, it's my hope that this board will not add this extra system to the construction progress. Another reason why I'm asking that the sprinkler system not be installed is because this property includes a large pond or lake that is well over an acre of land, well over an acre in size. Even during the drought last year, the most severe I can remember in my life, there was plenty of water in this lake. There's also a gravel road leading from the area of where the home will be built right down to the pond if, God forbid, a fire truck ever needed to drive there. The same fire specialist who I referred to earlier from the State Fire Marshal's office, Mr. John Dembishak, told me that every town in this state is equipped and trained to utilize water from lakes, ponds, and even swimming pools in putting fires out. And the final reason, while I'm asking the board to approve this subdivision without the sprinkler installation, has to do more with character and equality upon which our system of government and laws are based. In February of 2017, the Planning and Zoning Board of North Haven approved the subdivision of 80 Half Mile Road. And this property is across the street from 83 Half Mile Road. From that piece of land, 2 new properties, 84 and 88 Half Mile Road, were created. And as of right now, one home is almost entirely built. They're putting siding on the home. The other, 88, is currently about halfway framed. Those homes are right across the street from this particular property, 83 Half Mile. Both of these newer homes are equally distant from the last fire hydrant as Mr. Adinolfi's property. And according to the real estate agent for these properties, there are no sprinkler systems being installed in the homes. So in closing, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. I've lived in this town almost my entire life, have my entire career I've worked here, and my kids are going to Montauk School like I did many years ago. And I love this town and I respect this board, and I hope that you would consider you know what it's about, to consider that we approve this lot, and if sprinklers need to be done, I understand, but if it's something that can be approved without that extra expense, I would appreciate it. Thank you very much. Is there
Thank
any
you.
question? Thank you.
Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak in favor, sir? I thought there was someone else back there.
Together.
Okay.
I like what he said.
Okay, fine. Very good. Okay, that being said,
As far as I know, that was the only outstanding issue, so I think that'll conclude it for tonight.
I'm sorry.
That'll conclude
That's it.
tonight.
Okay. Anything to the commission?
No more.
Thank you.
Staff? Okay, this public hearing is closed. Okay, we're moving into, well, the site plan.
1811.
1811, P 1811. 40 Middletown Avenue.
Hi, my name is Dean Russo. I'm a contractor in Guilford, Connecticut, and a friend of the owners of 40 Middletown Avenue. I'm not prepared, and I don't have a piece of cardboard to hold this up, so I'm just going to kind of lay it out here if you have any questions. And what we're proposing is a change of use from a retail space to a service space for a nail shop. And we have submitted that with Alan last month, and he had a couple of ideas on things to do in order to improve the property. The property's been vacant for a number of years, and the owners are willing to do lots of improvements to the property to make it much more beautiful than it is now. So.
Okay, just give us a second here, we'll get this open.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. You finished with your presentation?
Yeah, basically, I've said, just to reiterate, they're just looking for a change of use. The property, the size of the building will stay the same. There will be many improvements to the property itself in terms of beautification, landscaping. I think we conform with parking spaces and that sort of thing, but there was a question about the sidewalk, about a peninsula being built for landscaping, and some cleanup on the south side of the property itself. So we welcome any questions or ideas that the board might have.
You have no problem with land use, and our staff? You have no problem with that?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Well, I think he does. I think he's saying.
It sounded like it, yeah.
No, I mean,
He would like to not install sidewalks, and I'm not sure where he's on the island.
Well, with regard to the island, we talked about that, and that would actually take one space away from the existing spaces that are there now. There is one extra handicap space there right now than is necessary, but I feel that with regard to the island, maybe we could put our money into many more trees and plantings and things like that than to build something that may or may not really make the place look a lot better. That's all. And with regard to the sidewalks, we did talk about a deferred bond over a period of years as an alternate. We'd love not to put them in, the sidewalks at all. Neither of the properties on either side right now that abut up to our property directly have sidewalks. There's a service station on one side, I think it's a gas station, not a gas station, but just a service station on one side, and I don't believe there's sidewalks in front of that particular lot. And then Nick's Char Pit on the other side, I don't believe also has sidewalks.
Also does not.
They
Also does not.
Because they haven't been in
Right.
recent years. Is the
Yeah.
only reason that is, but further
that's
back
what-
than that,
Yeah.
the sidewalks are there. I mean, they will get there,
Right.
and they will eventually meet up with your sidewalks.
And Covidians.
Yeah,
which are-
we will
which are-
tell you, I'll tell you this, we're not picking on you either, but
Yeah.
we want sidewalks.
Yeah, I understand, I understand.
So that's,
Yeah. I mean, it increases the value of the property
It
long-term
does.
anyway, and if it's something that, that can be deferred so that the owners could put their money into actually getting the place open and paying taxes and making the place look better initially, I think that would probably help out quite a bit
yeah,
as
you
well.
have time, you
Yeah.
have time to put them in.
Yeah.
Well, if this were approved and we put sidewalks in it, the current standard is, how long do they have?
9 years. 9 years.
9 years, so you got plenty of time to put sidewalks in.
Sorry about
Yeah.
that. Well, but there has to hold
Got to put a
the
bond.
bond
Yeah,
I get
of
it.
course.
to such time.
All right.
Okay, are we good here? So Ron can,
Sure, sure.
Have you guys agreed upon the location of the dumpster and enclosure?
We haven't had any comment on the dumpster at all.
Because you're asking for it, and it's obviously
Correct.
needed, but there's no, are you comfortable with staff agreeing? Should we approve this to come up with a mutually agreeable location and design?
I am. If they're agreeable, or if the commission requires it, it seems to me that there's one logical place to put that, kind of straight in. But anyway, as long as, there's always this question that we kind of struggle through, is how much, when you have a property like this, what's commensurate with their change of use.
Right.
You know, I know you want the sidewalks, and I know you want it to, this is our one shot at this for, in quite some time anyway. You don't know how long, so you look at some of the landscaping improvements. The requirement for the island and the tree at the, you can see the 6 spaces in front of the building. There's an overhead door that would conflict with that island. I don't know if they need the overhead door. The overhead door is not servicing a portion that would be the nail salon. I don't know that there's a conflict necessarily, but there is a conflict with the overhead door.
The island would have to be at where that space number 6 is labeled, most likely.
Could you say that again a little louder?
Sure. The island most likely would end up where that space with the number 6 sitting in it.
And as Dean mentioned, that would drop a spot. I don't know that that's within your power to do that, whatever you like to do. They also they don't have deciduous trees. The row of parking along the south side of the property, they got a couple of arborvitae that are there by the road. I kind of retracted my first version of the comments, and maybe the 2 or 3 arborvitae that are there are adequate, and would tend to not remove the arborvitae just to put in a deciduous tree. But we're looking for, 3 more. I think it's up to the commission in terms of what you'd like to do. If you require the dumpster pad, I feel that we could work out where that would go. I don't know how you don't, I don't know what they do with their trash if you don't require it. And we don't want a dumpster pad that has no home.
No, we
A
need a,
dumpster that has no home, so.
What happened to your engineer tonight? You were supposed to have an engineer tonight?
Well, he did email us that he would be able to come tonight, but we didn't feel that we really needed him. We felt that we could pretty much answer all the questions ourselves, seeing that it's the owner, myself, and we have some pretty good knowledge of how things get done, how things get built, and how to finish it off and make it right.
Okay.
Let me ask, is the building changing at all? Is the building all?
No,
No, not at all.
not to our knowledge, no.
Only aesthetically, not in the
Right,
sense
but
of
no
size at all.
structural
Not at all,
changes?
not at all. And no structural work inside
It's
as well.
currently vacant?
It is.
Is that right?
It's been vacant for quite a long time.
It's vacant and it has it is a retail use. There've been a couple of businesses in there. Not that long ago, I think last summer even, it was Sammy's Produce.
Oh, really?
And
I don't remember that.
it might have been the year before, something like that.
I think it was a seasonal
It was a seasonal
venue
thing.
just for a few months during the summer, yeah.
It's a relative of the owner who was using it for that particular use.
so Alan, are we married to the island? Is there room to, I mean, work on that?
If they want to keep the overhead door, you see the parking space with the 6 in it in
Right.
the circle.
Yeah.
They could put the island there. The purpose of the islands is to avoid a sea of asphalt. If you would prefer to have additional trees somewhere else, it's supposed to be a landscaped island with a tree. It's up to the commission, it's in your purview what you'd like to do with that. It is a part of the regulations that
Right. No, I
all
know.
rows of parking shall terminate in, but it is an existing facility that was constructed quite some time ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Ron is a good person to find where trees can go.
But
it's-
why is this as a full site plan instead of the usual change of use application? Because-
So I
and know
thought you'd
change
want
of
the
use is-
sidewalk.
It's what?
I thought you'd want the sidewalk and the
Indeed.
dumpster pad, and that
Okay,
kicked
fair
them
enough.
in.
But, and I'm with you, and I
Yeah.
do. But I also don't want to make it so expensive for them that they can't really use this
Gotcha.
property. So I'm a little bit hesitant of throwing a lot, the sidewalks I do want, they get 9 years to do them, I know they got to bond them. I wouldn't make them do a lot of other things, because they're trying to make the property usable. Me personally, I'm not saying that we should waive things, but as you make things more expensive, I think it becomes more difficult to use the property. I'd like to see them be able to use the property.
It would cost more to put in the island than to simply add a couple of trees, perhaps in a northern triangular portion. The dumpster pad, in my opinion.
Dumpster, they gotta put.
Is
Dumpster's
important.
It's, they're gonna have two businesses there. They gotta put a-
Okay.
Yep, I agree.
So let's say that, with the sidewalks are in, the dumpster pad is in. A couple of notes, some graphic things, it really comes down to just an island and some trees after that. If you're reluctant to,
It's not that I'm reluctant, I just don't know how much it would cost them to go and, I don't know. Is it expensive to put in the island?
Yes.
Dean is a contractor.
Could I just,
Yeah, go
throw my 2 cents in? On the right side of this building is a really large vacant area of grass. And to me, that's the part that really looks kind of barren, and the part of the building and part of the whole lot that just, I think, really needs to be spruced up quite a bit. So we would certainly be in agreeance to put a number of deciduous trees along that area as well to kind of bring things back in, because it's just a really sparse area over there.
Is that to
And
the south, the Nick's
it's
Carpet
it's
side? or
it's to the north on the
north
other
side, right,
other
that
side.
big
Yeah, it's
vacant
a
place,
really
okay.
large
Right.
grassy area that just I don't think looks all that great. And to me, I think if, as you were saying, if we were to put our money more over to that side and be able to make it, make it look a little more welcoming, that would be a wonderful way to start, at least. And certainly we could continue on as the, as time goes on to continue to have plantings and such.
Jonathan and Alan, are both of you willing to work with the applicant to get this to where we need it?
I think we are. Someone's been strangely silent in regards to all these trees.
I have heard what I need to hear. I'm sure we can sort it out in deliberation.
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm with him. I think we can too.
Okay, anything else from the commission? Staff?
No.
Jim? Nope. Ed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on to P18-12, and we'll take the Kim, P18-12A.
Evening, Mr. Chairman. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 147 Broad Street in Nuff, K-N-U-F-F. And I'm here tonight on behalf of Banfield Pet Hospital. Before I begin, with our application, we had submitted handouts with sufficient copies. If anyone doesn't have one, I brought extras.
I think we got them, right?
I think we had them last.
Okay. Okay. If someone
give me one. I'd like to see.
Okay.
Oh, we did. Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I've got one. Everybody's already got one. I don't know why they need more.
These were all contained in the materials that were submitted,
Something's full.
so we don't need them marked.
I always like to be prepared.
Oh, it's in there.
So this is a site plan application and coastal site plan application for a veterinary hospital within an existing 2,600 square foot space on the property located at 411 Universal Drive North. The property is located in an IL-80 zone and currently is improved with Home Depot and Dick's. The proposed location for the Banfield Pet Hospital is within the building located on the out parcel pad between Dunkin' Donuts and the Vitamin Shop. Veterinary hospitals are permitted use in light industrial zones pursuant to section 5.1.1.13, but these regulations are required, however, by section 10.1.1.3, which provides that site plan approval is required for any change of use. In this case, it's change of use from restaurant to the veterinary hospital. Banfield currently has a facility within the PetSmart store across the street, and they have a very dedicated following from the area, and they serve over 1,000 different pets in the North Haven area. Banfield is very excited to move into this new, larger, state-of-the-art space, new equipment to provide a better service for their clients and for their patients and their owners and their employees as well. In fact, we have a total of, I think we set a record, we have a total of 9 people here on behalf of this application. 7 of us are here on behalf of Banfield, 2 are from our landlord. Not all of us will be speaking, but people have flown in from Charlotte, from Washington State, from Atlanta, and it's just an indication of how important this application is to my client, Banfield. So, speaking with me tonight is going to be Dr. Alexander Corti, who is the Banfield's Director of Veterinary Quality, and also with us is Paul Vitaliano, who's a professional engineer with VHB, and then at the very end, Charlie Franzini from Kimco, who is a tenant coordinator, would like to say a few words as well, based upon Kimco's long experience with Banfield. So I'd just like to walk you through the handout very quickly before we hear from Dr. Corti. So if you turn to the first page, Banfield is a little bit different from the typical veterinary hospital in that they focus on preventative care. They have 130 locations in shopping centers across the country. They have a total of 1,000 different facilities across the country, so they have incredible experience, and 55 of their facilities are located within Kimco-owned centers. So they have extensive experience of having pet hospitals within shopping centers, within retail environments, and they have extensive experience with this particular landlord, Kimco, and it's a very, very cordial and friendly relationship. So they are very confident that this location will provide a safe and convenient location for our pets and their owners. It's important to know what Banfield is not, and this is on the next page. They are not a boarding facility. They are not open 24 hours. They do not allow for overnight stays. They do not provide 24-hour emergency care. They only see, on average, 17 pets per day, and the average stay is less than an hour. Typically, they would advise their patients to, or the pet owners, to bring their pets in twice a year for a checkup and for treatments. So the current North Haven site is located across the street. That was established in 2009. It's a little bit smaller than the proposed. It's only 1,900 square feet. But for a relatively small facility, they have a fairly robust employment of 18 total associates and 6 doctors of veterinary medicine. As I noted, they serve over 1,000 pets from the community. So the new location is 600 square feet larger. As I noted, improved layout, features, functions, and medical equipment, better work environment for all their associates, and better client experience for their pets and their owners. Next page is an aerial photograph depicting the short distance away from PetSmart to the proposed location. And I would note that no exterior work on the building of any kind is proposed. Everything is taking place within the building. So right now, the site complies with all your site plan and bulk requirements, and the site will continue to comply with all those requirements in the future. As you'll hear in a minute, we are proposing one minor change on the exterior, and that's to provide a pest waste station. And you can see it on the next page. There's currently a landscaped island in the parking field, and that would be converted to specifically as a pet waste station. Obviously, there are other grass locations in that direct proximity, and so obviously, if an owner wanted to walk their dog before or after their visit, there's certainly be an opportunity to do so. And there's going to be, if you turn the page, there is a specific location asking people to clean up after the pets, but nonetheless, Banfield employees will always take care to clean up that area that's specifically delineated for the pet relief, as well as the other grassed area in the area. So, as I said, this is very similar.
Time out for a second.
Sure.
What you're addressing now is what I've had some conflicting information about.
Okay.
Is this application saying that you have the legal permission to use the other grassed areas, or just the small island where the waste station is proposed to go?
We are designated that space specifically, but yes, we have, obviously anyone can walk their pet down the sidewalk, and there's a sidewalk that runs along Universal Drive, and yes, if the dog were to relieve him or herself, then obviously the pet owner would be encouraged to clean up, but nonetheless, Banfield will be monitoring that area as well to make sure that the area is cleaned up.
Ron, before you continue, Vern, in the past, when the price right as an applicant, I've disqualified myself, so I'm going to do that again.
Okay.
Okay, before I...
Okay, who would we have sitting in on this, Pam, or do you have it, Alan?
I don't really recall. I think that Lou had sat before. I'm not really certain who sat last between Ed and Lou. I don't know if either would be upset. I guess you could pick, I guess.
Do you want to sit or you want Lou to sit? Lou?
Let Lou sit.
Lou, you want to sit?
You guys are pretty easy to get along with.
But I think the important thing is, and why I sort of went on about how many other locations that Banfield has in shopping centers, and particularly with this landlord, is because this is the same condition that they have at all their other facilities, that a small area is set aside for their pet relief area, and Banfield employees will monitor those areas to the extent that pet owners don't clean up after themselves, then Banfield employees will do so.
My question is there's the much larger grass area to the north, as well as the grass area to the west along Universal Drive.
Yep.
If they have access to that, you got to explain to me why you chose to pick this teeny little island to designate when there's much larger spaces available. And I'm asking the question not to try to trick you, because I've been told that you don't have access to those other grassed areas. So which is the case?
It's a public sidewalk, so there's nothing to prevent anyone from walking their dog in those areas. I mean, you can be coming from a nearby area or visiting Home Depot and have your dog and just happen to walk down that sidewalk.
So if you've got access to that relatively large area, why are you designating this teeny little skinny island?
It's merely to supply an alternative location for the pets.
All right, doesn't make any sense, but go ahead.
So if you turn the page, we have a display of the typical hours of operation, as well as the time of the peak hours for visits. You see a lot of drop-offs in the morning. The center is open from 7 in the morning till 7 at night. As I said, they average about 17 customers per day. You notice that the vitamin shop does not open until 9 a.m. They close at 9 p.m. I was there this afternoon. The parking lot was virtually empty in the afternoon. So our peak usage will dovetail nicely with both Dunkin' Donuts and the vitamin shop. Also, because they're a very good neighbor and a very good tenant, we provided a detail on the demising walls demonstrating that sound will not be an issue for our two neighbors. And on the last page, obviously they have a great concern for pet safety, so there's double doors. So no pet has ever escaped a Banfield Pet Hospital. There are double doors. They have 2 employees to the extent that a dog has to leave the center and to be walked. There's 2 employees. They're double leashed. So they're very, very careful, obviously. They have a great concern for pets and for dogs, and so they take every possible measure of care to ensure that the pets are carefully restrained at all times. So with that, I'd like to have Dr. Cordy come in and address you, and then we'll hear from Paul Misaki.
Okay, thank you.
I am Dr. Alexandra Cordy, Director of Veterinary Quality for our Connecticut hospitals. It's Q-U-A-R-T-I. I'm also a board member for the Connecticut Veterinary Medical Association. I personally opened the North Haven Hospital in 2009 as the lead doctor there before I took this position, so this hospital is very near and dear to my heart. I've helped it grow. We have a lot of great qualified doctors and staff members there currently. We also give back to the community a lot. We do a lot of spay-neuter, help with communities and rescues, as well as educate students in the area and the local community. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have about hospital flow, hospital operation, where that's concerned.
Any questions, sir? Any questions?
Personally, I'm not really happy about having next door to an eating establishment.
No, I don't have any
I don't know what
questions.
the people that frequent the Dunkin' Donuts would think about it.
Well, I'm a Dunkin' Donut frequenter, I can tell you that much. And being a veterinarian, I could use the coffee right next door too, but I understand and see where you're coming from.
And the waste facility right next door, there was there's a other restaurant across the street from it. McDonald's. Mm-hmm. To me, it doesn't seem like an ideal spot for it.
In fairness, we were right across the street and very close to Olive Garden and other restaurants there as well, and it was never an issue brought to our attention.
You were close, but you were attached to the building?
We were attached to the building just adjacent to Olive Garden. We were in the PetSmart there.
You say the hours are limited to how many hours a day?
9 to 7.
If somebody has an emergency, you don't go in for them at night?
No, we don't. We're not allowed to. We can't even access the building. Well, currently in PetSmart. As a standalone, we would be able to access, but we definitely do not. It is against our policies.
And there's only 17 dogs or 17 animals a day that go there?
Give or take. Yeah, per doctor. Yep.
How much is charged only do 17 dogs a day?
It totally depends on what they're there for.
I'm not sure if,
Being an old farmer with dogs got sick, we shot them.
That's not good for business.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you want to take the question or not, and I'm not sure if it was site-specific or cut and paste from something else. It talks about the pets that you're walking, or maybe it's anybody's walking. It says specifically along the side or in the rear of the store building, avoiding the parking lot or the front of the store. And yet the designated place is in the front of the store, so
I
they
think
seem to
that's-
contradict each
Sure,
other.
I think that's simply for convenience. They usually will put in a little container so that people can actually get doggy bags to pick up waste and put it right in there, so it's right there.
But what I'm saying is it's your stuff that says to avoid the front of the store. And yet you're asking people to go around to the front of the store for the waste station. So I'm confused about that contradiction.
Yeah. No, sorry.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Chairman and Commission members. My name is Paul Vitaliano. I'm the civil engineer. I'd like to, just if I may,
Sure.
answer some of that. Here's how you spell my name. If you don't mind if I just back up a little bit, I promise I will get to that comment. A lot of what I was planning on speaking on was already covered by Attorney Nuff, so I just do want to back up a little bit. We obviously are not proposing any site work with the exception of the pet waste station. I think what Attorney Nuff was saying, if I may try to elaborate, hopefully I don't misspeak. There are some limitations as to where this pet waste station could be, and I think that is probably where your question was coming from. What Attorney Nuff, I believe, was trying to say was that obviously you can't restrict where someone can walk. We're not trying to restrict the public from walking, but we are trying to designate that one area and tell everyone, this is where we want you to be. And as the doctor was saying, the same situation exists at a PetSmart across the street. The island closest to the building does have this waste station, which is basically a pole with some bags and a waste basket. There are some tenant restrictions with McDonald's. So basically, actually, I'm going to switch plans here because this is an overall plan. The next plan's a blow up. It might be easier to see. So basically, with the McDonald's being here with the red roof, and we're proposing it to be here in between the two buildings, there are some restrictions with the McDonald's where we can't have that waste station any closer than really here. Also, this area that's being used as a background is a little bit older, as you may recall. Actually, no, I believe it's underneath the property line. There is a sidewalk that is along Universal Drive North that was installed as part of the Dix application a couple years ago. So really, when we balance where to put this waste station, we had the landlord's concerns with their agreements with McDonald's, and then also there's some new plantings that were put in here that are not reflected on this area being older. So some of these corner areas were improved, if you will, with some plantings and shrubbery and things of that nature. So really, when we looked at where to place this, it was either in one of the end-capped islands, and as you noted, we wanted to be further away from the restaurant established. We didn't want to be out here and cross another lane of traffic, plus we didn't want to disrupt the planted island that's there. We didn't want to get any closer to McDonald's, so that's why we settled on this island.
What about behind the building?
Behind the building, right now, exactly behind the building, or immediately behind the building, it's the driveway, so it's completely paved here. And then there's the few parking spaces you see, and then there's the landscaped area between the sidewalk and the asphalt. So we know that our main parking field is here, and as was mentioned, it's really not too many people coming in every day, but you really don't want to direct people to park in the back, have to take their dog out and then walk or find a way to the front of the building. So we know that most of our parking is going to be concentrated right here. So we just thought it was a very quick, easy walk to this island and then back to the front door. We didn't want to introduce customers to the business end of the building, if you will.
So you're saying that what you've got written in here, saying that directing people to use the rear and avoid the front is actually not correct. You want them to avoid the rear and direct them to the front.
Well, in this particular situation, that would be true. We would apologize if that's obviously based on what's our general guideline for the 130 stores or however many there are. But obviously there are some site-specific items, and in this situation, this was what was decided between the landlord and the tenant would be the best spot for this waste station.
speaking of the rear of the building, my comment number 3 just involved trash and waste disposal. It's kind of a chip-shot question. But is there access to, there's a dumpster enclosure that's back there, would they have the rights to utilize that?
We're looking at we will maintain that existing dumpster. There's no plan to add another dumpster or another pad. That would be shared as it was previously as the previous tenant used it.
Okay, so they'll have access to that?
Correct.
Okay.
If I may back up just a couple of I don't want to say clerical items, but things I do want to make sure are on the record and were noted in staff's comments. As was said, we aren't part of the CAM because the entire site, obviously this is part of a larger site, portion of it is in the CAM. We are asking the commission to hopefully agree that since there's no change in impervious area or any change in topography, that the CAM item be kind of considered a non-issue and be approved as well. The other item, just clerically, the site plan approval application does require things such as the A2 survey and a couple other minor site plan items. Those obviously are meant for ground-up developments where you come in with a topographic survey, you look at utilities, things like that. Since we're not proposing any site changes, we do ask once again, but we do have to ask formally that the commission does waive that A2 survey. However, I would like to note that the property line and what you see here in blue is the property line. So right here, that property line goes up the shared driveway between the Home Depot Plaza and the BJ's. I do just want to point out that that actually is an A2 survey property line because this commission would remember 2 years ago we came and altered that property line as part of the Dix application. So though we did not submit a formal A2 survey, the building and that property line are A2 surveyed and they are beyond the 50 foot that is required by the regulation for a veterinary hospital. So really that's all I had to add.
Okay, so, and I hate to keep
Sure.
asking the same question, but you said it's fine to use the rest of the grass, and I thought I heard you say that the landlord does not want the rest of the grass used, so which is it?
What we're saying is that by putting that post there, we are telling our clientele, our tenants, and instructing them and asking them to use this specific area. What we're saying is obviously if someone's walking their dog or decides maybe someone else is at the waste station or wants to go in this area, obviously we can't stop them, but I believe what Attorney Nuff was trying to say is that the Banfield employees will not only pick up the bags from that area, but also look around to see if their tenants, or their clientele use that area. We're trying to police that area as well. I believe that's what was trying to be said.
Exactly.
Did I understand that right, that they have the right to use that? Or I thought that...
By the way, our next presenter is Charlie Franzini from Kimco, so, to the extent there's any question.
I mean, I looked at this application prior to getting it. Was not my understanding that you had all that green to use. Right. I thought it was just a specific area that you had the actual...
It's possible they will be encouraged to use it, but this is no different from any other veterinary hospital anywhere, frankly. That's, you can walk your dog wherever you will, and hopefully you'll clean up after it. In this case, Banfield employees will be monitoring not only that specific location, but the other areas where one would likely, find dogs relieving themselves.
Okay.
So it's frankly, it's no different from any other veterinary hospital, and one of the reasons why we went on at some length about how many facilities, how many hospitals that Banfield has in this exact same retail context is to demonstrate to the commission that this is a very common occurrence. It is a relationship that Banfield has with Kimco that works very well for both Banfield and the landlord. And so while I understand that this is not an everyday occurrence for this commission, it is a very common condition for both Banfield with over 1,000 different hospitals in retail settings, as well as our landlord, Kimco.
Well, I understand exactly what you're saying, and you're exactly right. This is not a common thing for this commission. In fact, this is the first time I saw anything come before this commission quite like this. This is probably the highest trafficked area in North Haven that we have. And we're proposing to put an animal hospital right sort of in the middle of
Right, understand.
all the stores.
And obviously, that's good for their business. I think it's important to note that this is not an emergency hospital, so it's not as if your dog is badly injured and you're rushing in, you're trying to rush the dog into the hospital. This is a routine sort of visits. Certainly, Banfield is a company of pet lovers. They would not go in a location where they would be endangering their pets or their owners or anyone else. I mean, this is, it's no different from, walking your child into Dunkin' Donuts or walking your child into McDonald's. I'm sure that they will take great care in navigating the parking field from their car into the front door of the lot, of the front door of the hospital.
Okay, I'll accept that, but it's a little different for me.
No, we understand, but such is the nature of retail, such is the nature of even pet hospitals, that when you have a hospital such as Banfield that's providing the service literally throughout the country, they go into retail centers and they have vast experience of maintaining a safe and convenient location for their customers. So we understand it's a little bit different, but again, it's really no different from any other veterinary hospital that you would find anywhere else that's performing routine checkups for dogs and cats.
Okay.
But I do want to give Charlie an opportunity to speak
By all
for 1
means.
second. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. As John alluded to, I'm Charlie Franzini, tenant coordinator of the Northern Region for Kimco Realty Corp., the landlord of the shopping center. Thank you for allowing us the opportunity to meet with you tonight. We'd like to express our excitement with Banfield joining us here in the near future. But first, a little background of the site. Kimco has owned the shopping center since 1998. Throughout our 20-year history with the site, we have built a strong, healthy relationship with both our tenants and with the town. Some of the most recent projects at the site have been the build-out and opening of Inferno Pizza and North Haven Family Dental, as well as the Dick's Sporting Goods. As for Kimco on the global level, as alluded to earlier, we currently have 55 Banfield pets throughout our national portfolio, whether they be standalone or within PetSmarts, 10 of which are actually in the tri-state area. Many, if not all, of these locations include these OOP stations or outdoor waste areas, similar to the one that is proposed for this location. It is our experience that Banfield does a flawless job at maintaining these stations as well as the areas immediately adjacent to their facilities. The feedback throughout the portfolio from neighboring tenants and Kimco property managers has been nothing but positive, and we are confident that the same will hold true for this location and look forward to adding this use to our center. In closing, we believe that Banfield operation as a best-in-class veterinary use represents a new wave of experiential and service tenants in this challenging retail landscape. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, can I ask a question?
By all means.
Okay. I appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
Good. You have no idea the number of times landlords never show up.
Okay.
Again, as Vern said, this is new for us, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Help me out a little bit. One of our concerns, like Lou already mentioned, got tenants on either side, and I realize and appreciate what you're doing with the sound attenuation wall. Have you spoken to them, or I don't know if there's anyone here representing either one of those stores? Are they happy about this, or, because that's one of our concerns?
I have personally not spoken with Dunkin' Donuts or the Vitamin Shop. Our leasing representative, Alex, may have. I can't speak to that right now, but I have no problem reaching out to Alex and seeing if he's had those discussions, but we're confident. I mean, my supervisor is a professional engineer as well, and he reviewed the demising walls between the tenants and feel that it's sufficient. And we've also had discussions with our property management team, who is available 24/7 to address any concerns that may come up.
And keep in mind, it's not a kennel. They're not there for 24 hours. They're not overnight. I think what typically you would experience dogs sort of barking for a prolonged period if they're kept in the kennel. So the average stay for a pet at a Banfield hospital is 37 minutes. So if the dog comes in, they're treated, they leave, and so it's not a situation that would breed a dog, barking for an extended period of time.
I understand. I'm just asking, I mean, I understand what you're doing. I build demising walls and SDC rating and stuff like that, so I understand it. But I also know that none of them are perfect. And having not being a person who works in Dunkin' Donuts or the vitamin shop, granted, it'll help, but in my estimation, you'll still hear a barking dog. I just don't know how much that's going to bother your tenants. My other question is dogs are coming and going, and I know that sometimes they're sick, sometimes they're nervous, whatever. Sometimes they don't make it to the grassy area, and you've got sidewalk messes and stuff like that, which is another concern about somebody walking into Dunkin' Donuts or the vitamin shop having to step on or through or over something that just happened. How much, how do you address that sort of issue?
Let's deal with the landlord issue first.
Sure.
I'm Chris Simonello, Associate Director of Development for Kimco's Northeast Region, and we're very happy to be here, as Charlie said, so I echo his sentiments. To answer your first question about concerns related to Dunkin' Donuts and Vitamin Shop, we have long-standing relationships with both of those tenants, long-term leases with them. There are certain restrictions in those leases that cover noxious uses. Banfield Pets certainly is not a noxious use, so we don't need their consent in order to allow a quality user like Banfield to occupy a space. With that being said, we wouldn't do this. We understand your point, and we hear your point. We wouldn't do this for any vet hospital, but we'd be willing to do it for Banfield because of our long-term relationship with them. Like Charlie said, we have 55 locations with them. They are an excellent operator that is well known for their pet care, but also for maintaining the interior and exterior of their facilities. So to address your second question about tracking waste, they've always cleaned up the common area if something like that were to occur. Our lease with Banfield requires them to do so, and there is a financial penalty if they don't. So they're compelled to clean not only or maintain the designated area, but they're also going to take a look at the surrounding common area as well if it needs to be addressed.
For now, yes. Yeah. No, all set for now.
Just let me ask you, I know it isn't required, it's a site plan, but do you, as anyone here, know that if the Vitamin Shop, Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Subway, BJ's, have any of them been contacted that know that this is being presented to go into that space? I know it's not, this is
To our knowledge, they haven't been.
They have not been.
And even if this were a special permit or a public hearing, you would mail notices to the abutting owners, not to the tenants. So, I mean, to the extent that, first of all, we don't expect, based upon the extensive experience that Kimco has had with Banfield, that any of the tenants are going to voice any objection. But if they were, then their objection is voiced to Kimco, and that's where the issue will be resolved.
Okay, very good. I am satisfied. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one question. You have a red square in the middle of the parking lot. Are you going to take those 2 parking spaces for a relief area for the dogs? Or?
The red square?
You have the pet waste all the way at the end of the parking, but then there's a designated red spot in the middle.
Actually, I had Paul Vitaliano from VHB. I believe you're referring to one of the slides that was submitted, that one there. I actually noticed that too. I'm not sure why that's red. That was not meant to be an isolated or a takeaway. I'm not sure why that's red either.
So that station is the only place for the animals?
That's correct, sir. Yes.
The last thing I would note, I know that your staff report has recommended conditions of approval. There's 6 of them, and obviously we'd be happy to comply with each of those 6. And there's no other questions. Obviously, if we would very much appreciate the commission voting this evening. As I noted, we have people here from literally across the continent, and it's a good demonstration of the importance of this application to them. And not only is it important for them to continue servicing their clients, they also want to make sure that their employees have a continued place to work. They are a tremendously caring facility, not only for their pets, but also for their employees, and care for their well-being as well. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Teresa?
No, I have
anything?
no questions.
Anyone? No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Okay. There's a couple of things to take.
Are we taking a quick
Take a break.
Are we taking a break for you?
I'm sorry?
5 minutes? Are we taking a break?
Well, why don't we just take these here so they can get out of here?
Which way?
Take a break.
No, no, go ahead.
No, let's
Go
take a
ahead.
break.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. You want to take that break now? Let's take that.
I don't care.
No,
I just had a break.
I was looking for food.
I would defer to Teresa.
No, go. Just go.
She gets
Thank you,
grumpy when
Ron.
she didn't lift it.
I know.
Okay, let's take it. We're gonna take a 5 to 10 minute break right now.
You had food?
Okay, folks, we're back from our break. We're gonna move forward on to P14-04 Blue Hills and Kings Highway subdivision. Yep, let's step forward. This is under other folks, if you care to know.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission and staff. I want to thank you for allowing us to come before you this evening. My name is Timothy Herbst. I am an attorney with the law firm of Cohen & Wolf, PC, with law offices in Bridgeport, Orange, Danbury, and Westport, Connecticut. I'm here tonight representing Joseph Maneri, who is the developer of the 3-lot subdivision in question. The commission should have received a letter dated April 27, 2018, that memorializes the original subdivision approval from 2014. I don't know how many members were on the commission in 2014 who might be familiar with this subdivision application, which in essence, and I'm going to just take the map out to refresh, should have this map. Hold this up and I'll so you can see it.
Yeah, we have it right here, sir.
Okay, so as you recall, the subdivision was on the corner of Blue Hills Road and Kings Highway. It took 1 lot and made it 3. One of the lots, the original lot, did have water service, and the goal of the town, a noble one, is to expand water use throughout the town in areas that are undeveloped at this point or that have well. Back in 2014, when the commission granted the approval, the estimate at the time to install the line along Kings Highway was in the neighborhood of $21,000. In consulting with my client, based upon estimates that he has done to tie the water in along Kings Highway, we're looking at $92,000 if he proceeds with tying the water in along Kings Highway. Now, what's significant to note is that, let's assume for a moment, pre-subdivision. Pre-subdivision, we know that at least this lot, and even this lot, could have been serviced by water along Blue Hills Road, because there was originally water on that access point. But we know with Lot 3, there is no water on Kings Highway. So it presents something of a challenge. Now, in speaking to your staff and speaking to First Selectman Frida, I understand and I recognize that this is an issue that you've seen before. And I understand it's a complex issue, because when people come before you and talk about the cost factor, at the same time you're trying to balance the cost factor with, the public policy considerations of what's fair to people that are purchasing a home, developing property, or a subdivision. Now, I just want to put this in perspective. I made these copies for the commission because I think it's germane to this debate, because it's really a public policy question about how, with this and with going forward, how we're going to apportion fairly the cost of installing water lines to people that might come before the commission in the future. In a former life, when I sat in your shoes and I served as First Selectman of Trumbull, we had a situation similar with respect to sewer assessments. So 1,700 homes in Trumbull were the result of a sewer expansion project that cost about $47 million. And there was a formula in Trumbull that we used that said you use the frontage to determine the assessment per lot. 75% of that assessment was borne by the homeowner over a 20-year life of the bond, 25% encumbered through the general fund through the town. So I bring that up because I understand how difficult it is to come up with a policy that is fair for all concerned going forward. Now, across the street from the subdivision you approved, I just made these for tonight, just to underscore the point. This is conceptual, not approved, hasn't come before your board, but I wanted to show it to the commission because I think it underscores what we're talking about. And hopefully by showing you this, we can come up with an amicable solution that addresses your concerns, and also achieves the desired outcome of completing the subdivision. I'll submit one to the record as well.
We'll just mark that Exhibit A, all right?
Now, this is a conceptual of property across from Kings Highway, the corner of Blue Hills and Kings Highway. It's across the street. It's undeveloped. I can tell you that right now there are discussions about this property being acquired by another third party. So it hasn't come before your board, hasn't been approved. This is simply a conceptual plan. But in looking at this conceptual plan, you could, not saying you would, but you could, ultimately it's your call, have 1, 2, 3, 4, you could say 4 lots conservatively, 6 lots possibly. So I bring this up because if you look at where the proposed water line will go from in the corner of Blue Hills Road up Kings Highway, and you measure that against a proposed subdivision across the street, it begs the question as to whether this applicant for 1 lot should bear the cost of $92,000 exclusively, or conversely, if the commission, in its discretion, should hold a bond above the $7,500 currently as part of your approval, hold the bond in lieu of the property across the street being developed so that the extension of the water line is more fairly apportioned to the properties both developed, approved for development, and yet undeveloped, to see if that can be spread among multiple lots so it is fair to all concerned. Because for me, looking at this objectively, as a third party, as somebody who's been in your shoes, I don't know how you can justify one homeowner absorbing that cost now, and then a developer coming in 3 or 6 months from now, seeking subdivision approval from you across the street, getting it approved, and being the beneficiary of someone else spending significant money to make that water line extension a reality. So I'm bringing this up because we're not here tonight. We're here tonight to have a discussion with you. We have a problem. We want to try to come up with a solution. I should also point out, when you look at the 3 lots, and if you look at the packet that was submitted for the record, there is a sewer easement between 2 of the lots that can service Lot 3. Now, the other thing I would point out, in terms of a hypothetical, so you can see here, in my bearings, the sewer easement is right here. So you can bring the easement up between lots 1 and 2 to connect the 3. And there's an agreement between lots 1 and 2 to do that. Now, I understand that that is not something the commission necessarily would agree with, but I would put this in perspective. Let's hypothetically say that Lot 1 and Lot 2, the owners of Lot 1 and Lot 2, come before you and seek a lot line revision. And let's just assume, for the sake of argument, that the lot line revision would have 2 conforming lots. Does that mean I have to stop talking?
You got it.
That's a small.
Don't blame that on me.
We made it.
I'm sorry.
Maybe you're talking too much or something.
Is that your cue to tell me to shut up? I'm almost done. Okay.
Not bad.
So as I was mentioning, let's just assume Lot 1 and Lot 2 come before your commission 6 months from now with a lot line revision. And let's assume that they move the lot line beyond the sewer easement, so the sewer easement becomes part of the lot, and you have 2 conforming lots. The legal question then becomes, legally, can they then tie in through Lot 2 without the use of an easement? I think an argument could be made that they could. So I'm just raising these issues to try to come up with a solution that allows Mr. Maneri to complete the project, which was approved in 2014, so as it is not compromised in a cost prohibitive way, given the costs that I articulated. I am suggesting as a compromise a bond of perhaps $21,000, which was the original calculation, to be held on top of the $7,500 as a security deposit, if you will, a safety net, to guarantee that the expansion will happen and there are funds in place to do that, and that when the property across the street is developed, we then have a more palatable situation for all concerned, in that cost being more fairly apportioned to all of the properties that I just mentioned. So with that, I want to thank you for your indulgence. I know this is a tough issue for you, and I would be more than happy to take your questions.
Anything from this, Jim?
Not yet.
Yeah, I don't have anything right now.
Yeah. Then,
Oh. Your proposal is interesting and makes sense. Can I ask why it wasn't made 2 years ago? I mean, the application, was approved and the owner said they would do that. I'm confused why it wasn't an issue or a suggestion then. I'm also very confused. I mean, we bid work all the time, and if somebody was ever off by an order of magnitude of 5, they'd lose their job. So my question is how did the cost go from 20,000 to 100,000?
Okay. The latter part of the question, I can have my client speak to that because he got a quote that I believe is reliable. And I will tell you that, to answer the first part of your question, I think that one of the reasons why perhaps that wasn't brought before you is because of the second part of the question that you asked. The cost variation was such that it became apparent that this was going to become cost prohibitive to completing the project, to completing the sale of the third lot. We have somebody that has, first of all, there is running water in this house. And right now we're here tonight because a CO cannot be obtained because of this issue. So what I'm trying to figure out is how to get a young family into this house that they want to purchase while meeting the overall goals and objectives of the commission in such a way that achieves your desired outcome of wanting to expand water service in areas that are welled, but at the same time coming up with a way of doing this so it is fair to all concerned. And I've recently been retained, so this is something I would have suggested 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but I'm here tonight to try to come up with a solution that the commission can find acceptable.
Question for you, Jonathan. I mean, I could find out how much this would cost tomorrow. Can't right now, tonight, but I know that 6 months ago, I mean, this is about a 500-foot water main extension. 6 months ago, I put a 500-foot water main extension, a 6-inch line in New Milford. Cost about $5,000. So I'm curious where the 100,000 number's coming from.
That I was curious too. That's
Okay.
You gotta come up and talk.
Okay. I'm going to have Mr. Maneri come up and speak to where this close. Just state your name and address.
I want to see that in writing.
Joe Maneri, 11 Allendale Drive. North Haven. So the quote was received from Regional Water Company, and they're the only ones that could perform this work. If we were allowed to sub it to a company like Quality Associates, we've gotten quotes like around 30, 35, but they're 200 a foot is what they are.
But there's no particular pricing. Again, the water company has a designated contractor who puts these in, and they charge the developer. So there's no, pricing per se. You go to the water company and they say this, okay, you want to extend the water main that distance, here's our price for that.
So you're, in this, and I realize it changes from water authority to water authority, but in this case, the owner can't shop this out. He has to go with these people, and presumably you've got a written quote from these people that is $98,000.
92, which we could supply you.
Okay.
I'd like to see that.
And you had a quote 2 years ago?
Well, it was on the bond.
Same people for $20,000?
The bond estimate form was $21,000, and this was approved, and it wasn't on the conditions of approval, so I overlooked it, and I just went to my bond form, which Criscola did back 2014, and the bond estimate was 21, so it wasn't, 21 versus 92 is a big differential, so that's why we're here tonight. And I will supply that.
It sounds like you're
bond.
Agreeing with me that this 100,000 seems grossly out of proportion to the actual amount of work.
That's correct.
I mean, is there any opportunity for you or the owner to appeal something like this? It seems like
I don't think that's our job to appeal anything along that line. But understanding, we've had extensions in other areas where we've heard price quotes, 190,000 for 1,100 feet. It's relatively commensurate, but again, no, we don't have a particular proposal. In 14, when this came in, this was just shown on the drawings. It wasn't requested or what have you. It was on the drawings, and it was considered a part of that application. So it came in, and it offered that up, which is a benefit to the development, which is divided by 3.
Let me ask another legal question, and if you can't answer, that's fine.
Probably not.
If we were so inclined to say, put the extension in and write it in such a manner that if and when these houses on the other side of the street go in, they get assessed a proportion and the owner gets the money back.
Well, the Regional Water Authority, their policy is a developer extends the main up the street. He pays for his side of the street. He pays for the whole cost. Somebody across the street wants to tie in, they pay, if it happens the first year, they pay their percentage of that. So if they ran it 500 feet and they developed a lot across the street for 100 feet, they'd pay 1/5 of 1/2 of 1/5.
To whom?
To the Regional Water Authority, who then gives it back to the developer.
The 1/2 of 1/5 is the tie-in fee, correct?
Yeah, that's their cost for year 5. They only have to pay 50%. By year 10, by year 11, they don't get charged anything.
Right.
All right.
Is this the Greater New Haven Water Authority?
That is the, yes.
South Central.
South Central Regional Water Authority.
I cannot, if I wasn't here tonight representing my client, as somebody who has sat in your shoes, and this is, again, we're debating something that really is, a lot of it's out of our control.
I understand. Yeah.
I just cannot rationalize how, in the interests of fundamental fairness and equal protection under the law, I'm talking on a constitutional basis, how he can be required to spend $92,000 bringing a line up the street that potentially
You should be making that argument to the water company, not to us.
I know. That potentially 6 other lots are going to be the beneficiaries of.
I get it. Again, your argument's with the water company, not with us. He came to us 2 years ago with an application. We approved it. and now we're being asked to change it, and it's putting us in a difficult position. I mean, if it was, I can't speak for the commission, but if it's up to me, as a bare minimum, I'd want to extend this so that Jonathan has the time to review the quotes that he got and check with the water company, or have the owner check with the water company to make sure that this is really the best deal that we can get, because it seems, and I realize you've gotten other prices that seem proportional. I'm on the other side. I've done this work, granted not with designated water company people, but people who are licensed plumbers and installers working in city streets for a lot less money. So
There is no other deal.
And I agree with
Is there
Ron.
no-
I like to give Jonathan the chance. I like that, Ron, to see.
Jonathan, you want us to table this and give you the chance, opportunity to take a look at this?
That's fine.
Okay.
Let me just ask a question, and so I deferred to Ron on this stuff, because I hear you. It sounds like Alan's telling us that he agrees with the applicant in that the number is probably the number, but let's find out so that we're all on the same page. With regard to your proposal of taking some money, whatever it is, and holding it in escrow, I don't know how that would, if we get to that, how would we work that? Because if we held it, and then the people across the street come in, then what do we do?
Great question. Here's what I would propose along those lines. You have an existing easement that allows for water to go to Lot 3. You can bring it up the easement to Lot 3 tonight and hold the $21,000 in escrow in addition to the $7,500. And when the lots across the street are developed, you require that that $21,000 be applied proportionally and fairly as part of the tie-in up the street. So you're going to have the money in place. You're going to achieve everybody's desired objectives and outcome. Lot 3 is going to be able to utilize an easement and complete the project, get it done. So the people that have a contract to purchase Lot 3 and a house on Lot 3 can move into their house while addressing the concerns of the commission and allowing them to get a temporary CO. That's number one. Number two, by putting that bond money in place and holding it, it guarantees that when future development occurs on Kings Highway, you can then have the legal right to take whatever part of that bond that you're going to put in place, whatever proportion of that, and apply it fairly with the other lots that are going to be developed across the street, requiring tie-in at that point and having the funds in place to do that. So, let's say the number stays at $92,000. Let's say the Water Authority says, we're not budging off of that number. His $21,000 bond, coupled with 6 other or 4 other approved lots, you're going to have more than enough funds for each of those lots to cover the cost of even the $92,000 figure that we all agree is a little egregious.
And so the Lot 3 gets water from here, never ties in to the street.
No, what I'm suggesting is when those other lots are developed, then you require the tie-in, and you can utilize the bond that you put on the record, that you put on the land records, coupled with, and as part of the approval, coupled with the lots to be developed across the street, so you have now your safety net. You now have your safety net to say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to let you tie in across the easement, because we recognize that this, in the interests of public policy and fairness, it makes more sense to take that $92,000
Right, and I
cost
understand that, but
and apportion it.
why are we even going to have them tie in if they already have tied in through here? Why are we going to make them tie in here?
You're tied
They're going to
in.
be tied in already, so why not just take, in your public policy idea, take that much, 21,000, and they just give it over to the guys across the street if they're gonna develop it? Why have Lot 3 tie in at all?
We could do that too. I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying,
an option.
if
All
the
right.
commission wanted it to tie in
Right.
on Kings Highway, that's what I would recommend.
Okay.
But if you're okay with this, we can do that too, but still have the bond.
I can't answer that, but
Just
I'm
not
just trying to
understanding.
get,
Because at that point, though, the line won't be developed up Kings Highway. That's what you're proposing. You're not going to put it up Kings Highway, so the guy across the street would have to put it up Kings Highway. Is that what you're proposing? So they'd have to put it up
That-
Kings Highway and then in some mechanization, use your or $38,000, whatever it is.
What I'm suggesting is you have that option and the option I articulate. You have choices to pick from. You can say, if I may, just because I'm a visual person. You can go up the sewer easement and tie it in.
Well, that's what he wants to
Yeah.
do, right?
Yes. Okay, so that's plan one.
Yeah.
Plan two is, okay, tie in, put the bond in escrow, allow that bond to be utilized if these lots are developed, but let them remain tied in here. Or option three is, allow them in the short term to come up this way, put the 21,000 in place for when the lots are developed across the street, apply that 21,000 fairly with the other 6 lots, and then tie in.
Well,
Those are the
okay,
three options that I
but
see.
then tie in, so so for now, what you're saying is that line that's supposed to go up along in here, right along Kings Highway, won't be brought up. That's where you are. That's what you're asking. Don't bring it up. Let the guy across the street worry about bringing it up, and we can use our money to help do that. That's essentially where you are, right?
No, what I'm saying is use the 21,000 to bring the line up when the other lots are developed.
But let me ask you
Yeah,
something.
but the other
You-
guy will do it. You're not gonna do it then, right?
He's
He'll
not
pay a
gonna do it.
portion.
You're
Right, so give it to the other guy.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
So
what he's
you're talking about a cap
how
amount.
we would do it.
Yes.
But you're saying that whatever the Smith lot that is on the eastern side of the street, you're not really going any farther than that. So the guy who's
Right.
a little farther to the north is not really considered at this point.
To the north of these lots.
Yeah, or
He
wherever,
goes up
but,
there. He's stuck.
I mean, am I hearing that correctly, or?
You're talking about right here.
No, further north. Yes.
Yeah. Which has typically, just speaking for the commission and my 13 years of activity here, has always been the interest in progressing in terms
Right.
of that line. You know, we had an application earlier, we still haven't acted on it, regarding Half Mile Road. You know, and the fire chief is trying to get water as far as he can get it. I think that has always been the concern. So in terms of the logic of it, it's not to get everybody per se to pay a proportional sense. It's to somewhat ride the backs of those who wish to develop, to
Which
extend
is a
that as
place
far
we've
as they
been
can
before.
get. Yeah.
With
So-
other applications.
But just by way of explanation, it's an infrastructure issue, not an apportionment issue.
But kind of one of my points about that is, even if we were willing to entertain that, I don't know legally we can do it. I don't know how we would do it, because I don't know how we would take your money, put it aside, and give it to the developer somewhere. We don't want to be involved in that mechanism unless we want to get an
Couldn't
opinion
that be
of
an
how that would
opinion
work.
from our,
How
from
could we
our
do that? I don't know
town
how we
attorney?
would do it. It's something we've never done before. I'm not saying we can't, I just have no idea that we can. You know,
So you basically-
take a
you-
bond for
you
one
need-
person, give it to the other guy, and say, bring up the,
Well,
bring up the
isn't
water.
it similar?
If you're even entertaining that, then, one, we need the town attorney's opinion on that.
Yeah, no question,
And
yeah.
two, I'd like to get to work on the numbers.
Oh, no question,
Well-
that goes without saying, John. We're not gonna make a decision about this tonight either way. You gotta,
Right.
I think, with all due respect, you gotta come and tell us that what is going on is really what's going on, and it really is the problem that they say it is, because I don't know anything about construction, but
Well-
our construction people are telling us something's out of whack. but-
Jim, I guess we don't have to act on this at all.
No,
This
it's
is
not an
just under
application,
others, so
actually, it's a
we
discussion.
just-
I
We'll
understand.
we've heard you tonight, and we will discuss this, and
Sure.
and
Yeah,
when we come
once
up
you
with
guys take a
something, I
look at it,
guess
let us
Jonathan
know.
or Alan, you can notify them.
We'll report back to you.
Okay,
That's fine.
very good.
Is there any way that they can obtain a temporary CO for the home?
That I couldn't tell you.
We have no ability to do it.
Well, I don't know how. I mean, once they get the CO, you have,
We're done.
You never, okay, let's see.
yeah.
You're asking about a TCO. Have you already built a house there?
The house is there,
When did you find out about this problem?
Well, we got an approval from the state. Before this water easement that we applied for and got, we tried to get a well there, and we got the state to sign off, and then the health department. So we've been battling this for probably about 18 months now, and here's where we are now.
When we've had C of O issues in the past, let's cast aside residential development. If you constructed a building in the way the state law reads in terms of the bonding, you can bond for public improvements and you can bond for S&E controls. Town council's opinion is that once you introduce a certificate of occupancy, it goes back to the old style bond where you'd get a bond for the full amount of the site work. I don't know if it's possible, I don't even know if that's a realistic option, but in the past, we've bonded for the amount of work that was there. If the amount of the work is represented as $92,000, somebody wants a C of O and it's not done, you know, if you're missing a shrub, you put the value of the shrub in place in bond.
So you'd
If you're
say you
missing
bond
the
for
water line,
$92,000?
that's the way I'm looking at it intuitively, and I don't even know if that's a realistic option. But typically, that's the way things have transpired in the past. I have no idea where building is. Building issues C of Os, not zoning. Zoning signs off on the C of O. They will not issue it without the zoning sign-off, zoning approval, zoning compliance.
Right.
Lot 2 also is not constructed yet, so if you wanted to put bond on Lot 2, which is not constructed yet, as collateral against Lot 3, you would be in a position to do that.
I don't think we can piece it together in that sense. I mean, a bond's a bond, a value's the value, and the bond applies to application P14-04. So all of the work that's required under that application would be what you would be getting a supplemental bond for in exchange for a C of O. Again, you get it kind of getting into an issue that, you know, may require a little more legal thought on the commission's part.
Well, I think it should be just turned over to you, Jonathan and Alan, to
Well,
check this thing out. I mean,
We'll check it out and get back to us, though.
Yeah, no, they'll get back to us, and of course, get,
Homeowners that are trying to get in next week.
You can't.
I certainly can't answer for that. Nor anyone else can here.
You know, and just a comment on all of this, you know, again, state statute changing, building on unimproved roads is something that has changed, and the law has changed, and it has put the commission in an awkward position. And Joe Maneri's statement, you know, is a valid statement. We were put in a situation down a half-mile road. We were put in this situation at Winding Brook down off of Patton Road. And the idea of pulling building permits for something where the infrastructure is not in place is a problem. And that's a problem that's a state statute issue. We've been bowled over by this, and it has put town staff, it's put the commission, it's put the first selectman in a very awkward position. I don't like it, and I've been very vocal about that.
Okay.
But it doesn't help.
What we've done in the past is require a bond for the unimproved portion.
which is, in this case, what you're saying would be $92,000 based on the representation.
It could be any type of bond, doesn't have to be cash. It could be a surety bond or whatever.
92 and whatever else isn't done.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So if it's 100,000, it's,
But you know, in my opinion, that we would tend to bring this back to town council, you know, at this point.
That's fair.
Okay,
we're getting out on a limb.
You okay with that, Joe?
So what,
I
just
mean,
so we're on the
that's
same page,
our
so
only
what they
alternative.
seem to be saying is subject to town council, the only solution that they can see, and they still have to talk to town council, is put a bond up the whole thing and then fight about it later. I understand it's a lot of money, but I don't see where that's the only solution that we have at the moment, right?
To get it,
And even that's the solution, you have to talk to town council. If town council says that's okay, and you want to do it, then it's fine by us. Or fine by me, not by us.
There's one lot that's not built yet.
I understand.
Did we put it on that one so we have some time
I
to
don't
deal
know
with
that,
this?
I think it's all one project, right?
It has to be with the subdivision.
Yeah, again, it's, the subdivision is P1404, and their right to bond is based on an application connection. So it's, what's bonded is that particular
first-
application with the totality
not
of
that-
that work.
What he's saying is, because all 3 lots are part of the subdivision.
Yeah, but the first lot got a CO already, so why can't the second?
And I get it, and you want the second one, what they're saying is you gotta put up a bond, and it's on the whole subdivision, correct? But it's gotta
That's
be
correct.
enough for the whole thing until you can convince somebody not to do the whole thing. But you'd have to bond, assuming Jennifer says that's okay, you'd have to bond the whole amount.
So I guess we're gonna be talking to Jennifer tomorrow.
That's what I would do.
Okay, is that okay with you, Joe?
No, it's not.
Well, I mean,
I don't know why we can't put on the last lot.
You can't because
Well,
it's
we
one
can't do
whole
it here.
piece. You just can't. We don't have the ability to do it for you. We don't.
They didn't make that approval. This is something we have to work out with you.
So you understand where we're coming from.
I
Okay.
understand that you cannot, as a commission.
Right. We don't have legally we can't do
Well,
it.
and the problem is we're also dealing with another regulatory authority that is tying your hands.
I
Big
I
time.
sympathize with your whole situation, but what it is, we have the closest thing to, we have a lawyer on the end, and
But it sounds like there's a couple alternatives, so let's let our staff and let's talk to Jennifer and let's try that right now.
But you've gotta give them the ability to resolve, he's trying to close now, not a month from
Can we
now.
do
That's
it
the only
on
thing.
Well, so
Between Jonathan and Al.
That's
That's kind of what we're trying to
if
get
they're-
done.
do it.
And that's what I think we need to decide as a board. Are we comfortable letting them make a decision with
Jennifer.
Jennifer? Because we're
I-
not coming back here for a
I
month.
think we have to do that anyway, so it's just a matter to come back to it.
I just
Well,
find-
no, you don't have to do that, and that's a question. If you're gonna do that, then there's a practical question, can we legally do that?
But that's
Okay.
for, that
That's
you're
for
gonna have-
Jennifer.
Right.
Okay, and then the second question is then, so we want to? Okay. So you're,
I don't think he was asking you.
Let's-
Depends what you mean by want.
You got too many questions going around.
if you're asking, you know, that we would be directed to do it if it's legally possible.
It depends what you mean by it. It sounded to me like
Yeah.
put $90,000 up. That's what it sounded to me like. He's
Yeah.
looking at, you're looking at.
Yeah.
If Jennifer says, okay, I know that may or may not be acceptable to them.
Mm.
For me, if that works out for you and Jennifer and it lets him close, I would be okay with you making that decision administratively with Jennifer. I'm one person on this commission. I don't know where everybody else is.
2 people.
I'll
Okay,
make
so
it myself too.
Okay,
I
so
could go
that's
along
where
with
we are.
that as well.
You convinced Jennifer to let you do it.
Okay, so the idea is we're casting aside Tim's theory about relative proportion
I
of
think
all
that's-
this.
We haven't
We're just
decided.
saying flat out, it's, if
gotta
you're willing to bond the
Put
$92,000 of
92,000
value of
and-
the work.
And come and
Okay.
fight with us another day.
Okay.
Or talk to us another day. That's where I think we are.
That would be the fastest way to get this
To let him
handled, I think,
actually
at
get
this
closed.
point. Yes.
Would Jennifer and I have the discretion to come to a meeting
You,
of the minds?
Jennifer, and those
Yes.
2 gentlemen.
Okay,
You work it out.
okay, basically let us work it out.
That's
If
fine.
you-
That's
certainly if you
okay for
can.
me. Yes.
It's okay for you?
Yeah,
Yes.
relative to bonding the 92,000, not working out the whole problem.
Well, meaning that,
Okay,
that
so
whole other thing of spreading it, you're never gonna work that
Proportionate,
out
right.
in the next couple of weeks. He's
Right.
trying to close now. So
Okay.
that would seem to be just to get you to that point. If that
Well,
helps.
that's.
All right, so
you guys
you'll
decide.
have an official vote on this in
Whatever that means.
deliberations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though there's no application, but we'll vote on it somehow. We'll work out the language.
Fair enough.
Okay,
We'll be in
thank
touch
you.
tomorrow. Chairman, thank you. Commissioners, thank you.
Okay. The other is closed for here. Okay, extensions on P14-19, 518 Clintonville Road.
My recommendation would be to take the two changes of use at this point. You
Well,
don't
the
really
extent-
have public input on the
Yeah,
extension.
the extension's really, well,
It'll take us
30 seconds.
Well, you're not in deliberations. You should do deliberations, go into
Okay.
deliberations and deliberate on everything.
Okay,
okay, fair enough.
fair
So
enough.
if we can hear the folks from 311 Washington, 411 Universal, that would be good.
No, I'm
My
sorry
name-
for the late.
No,
Not so
that-
late you had to wait, but go
Oh,
ahead.
that's okay, no problem. My name is Anika McBrien, and Anika, E-N-I-K-O. Yes, M-C-B-R-I-E-N. Hopefully the new owner of Possum Pets, Pet Grooming Salon.
More pets.
That's why, yes. And that is why I'm here, as hoping for an approval on the change of use on the property located on 311 Washington Avenue. I think it was a construction office or contractor's office
Contractor.
before, yes, and I'm looking to open up a pet grooming salon there.
Hey, what? I'm sorry?
Grooming, pet grooming.
Pet grooming.
Okay.
Oh, it's
The-
It's the front of
the paint.
Yeah, the actual use is separate than a veterinary hospital, what have you. Pet
Right.
grooming is a
Yes,
standalone use. Luigi Ferrara, or his entity, is the owner, and he had a couple of site plans approved, and he installed the sidewalks, and
right, he did, yeah.
the property's more or less up to snuff. The last use was a psychic.
The psychic was up
Yes,
front, right,
yeah, exactly.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right.
So
this
whatever
is
you
the-
consider that, whether it was
This is the
a
one royalty
service or an
in the back,
office.
the
or-
wine making places in the back, right?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
So we're going from,
Whatever you consider a psychic to be,
Yeah.
you're going from
Whatever that
that
might be.
to a pet groomer,
I
yes.
don't know what it is, Ron.
It was approved without a proper delineation, but it didn't bother me much at the time.
There definitely was a psychic.
I don't know what I'm gonna
We
do now.
can't keep
Apparently
talking.
they didn't know
We
they'd be
can't
going
keep
out of
talking
business.
about this. Let's just vote.
They
on
weren't
it.
able to tell ahead of time.
Okay.
You're making me
It's
nervous.
not complicated.
Don't get nervous.
Yeah, we can't
No,
vote.
we can't vote on it yet, okay.
I don't have any
Okay.
questions.
Okay, you want dog grooming. Does anybody have any questions?
No.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The 411 Universal Drive, I guess, has been not covered.
Waiting all this
Pardon?
time. No, right here.
I'm 411.
Yep,
Yep.
okay.
Good evening, I'm Deirdre Enoch, E-N-O-C-H. And I am a dental consultant and I work for Dr. Bethy, and she has a practice on 323 Universal Drive in North Haven. So what we're trying to do,
Excuse me one second, just for clarification. This is the one that's listed as 323 Universal Drive?
It is. Their particular numbering on units is one thing. We try to give you the address of the property as articulated by the assessor. The assessor calls this entire parcel 411 Universal Drive, so we try to list it under that.
Thank you.
They are in that building between Dick's and Home Depot.
All right, so this is again priced right in Kimco, so I'm again out.
Sorry, Jim.
so what we're doing, I'm not really, I really don't, I opened what I'm doing, I did in Norwalk. So I don't really know, because the form says change of use. I don't want to change the use.
Right.
I just want to add something to it. So the practice operates now Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Tuesday and Thursday, we want to add a dental assistant training facility, the 2 days a week. So I don't want to change the use. Like I said, I just want to add to it. So I've already had the fire marshal inspection. I've already had Kimco, Alex signed off on it. So I've done everything, and I'm going to be approved by the state of Connecticut Department of Higher Education. I just need zoning. So that's the only thing I'm waiting for.
What are you doing now for the 3 days a week?
3 days a week, doctor practice there. It's a dental office, so it's open.
So it's either practice or training?
So
One or the
it
other.
can't do, like, it can't be both.
Okay, but what I'm saying is you're either going to be practicing or training somebody to practice, one or the other.
We're gonna be practicing Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then we're gonna train on Tuesday and Thursday.
Sounds good, thank you.
If you guys wanna see, here's some other schools that are the
No.
same. Okay. So I'm all done?
Yes, thank
All right,
you.
thanks.
Okay.
Seems to make sense to go into deliberations at
Yeah,
this
we're
point.
just gonna try that.
I'll make a motion to move into deliberation.
Have a second,
I'll
please?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We are now officially in deliberation. We moved on the 8/24, so that's out of the way. We can move right directly into Bradley Homes, which is P 18-05. And I guess we have a little bit of complications here that,
What complication?
I'm sorry?
What complication?
Well, you go ahead.
I mean, from my perspective.
Yep.
And I appreciate the patience of the applicant. I know this has taken a while, but we asked for a 10% affordable, they gave us. They reduced the cap to 200. Any approval that I would recommend would include the language from the town attorney that the site remains taxable. They reduced the height from 60 feet to 50 feet. So basically, from my perspective, we've gotten everything we've asked for.
Okay, very well.
Well, a couple of things. There was consideration of an overall townwide limit under this particular regulation. The other minor thing was to remove the word rental from the affordability agreement. We got that. That's okay.
You got that in there, huh?
Well, what is the mood of the commission
Well, let's just
about
see what it is.
overall cap?
Yeah, well,
for the
I
whole
mean,
town?
I'm inclined to agree with you in respect to, of the approval to,
Well, I
to,
think we should at least discuss if there's an overall town cap, yes or no, and
yeah,
if
well,
there
the old
is, how
town,
much it
the
would
town
be.
cap would be, I guess we talked about 200 units, was it not?
No, that's just for the one site.
Oh, the overall.
He's talking about whether or not
Yeah.
we want to cap the
I-
whole town at X number, which
Well,
would...
I have not given any thought to that, to be honest with you.
This is something we talked about, and I don't think that the applicant has really cared. They intend to develop and would assume that your overall cap limit would exceed the number that they want to develop on that property. They would be limited to 200 on that parcel. So the assumption is the number would be in the vicinity of 300 or, well beyond the number that they want.
Understood. Would the commission object, or being so inclined, if a motion were to include an overall town cap of 400?
I guess I just don't know how we arrive at a number, period.
Oh, it's completely arbitrary.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I don't know if there's a scientific way to come up with it,
Well,
but
I mean, you could put an overall cap of 200, which
you
is all
could,
that they want.
but that might
and
be
then-
site zoning, wouldn't it? If
Well, I don't know. I mean, we've got all kinds of
Yeah,
issues here.
I mean,
We do.
I'm trying to recognize the elephant in the room about the fire department's
it.
concerns.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it might be irresponsible for us to put no limit.
No, I agree, but for that purpose, I don't see how other than making it arbitrary, if you make it 200, which is theirs, you can always amend the amendment some later on.
Yes,
if
we
you
can
want
do
to
that,
more.
Jim.
So for that purpose, I think it's 200. I don't care if you make it 300, but it's like, I don't know why you
What's your opinion
would.
on that?
I agree with Jim. I think you could
Okay.
do that if that was your sense.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I can
At
go with
least
that too.
that way, anybody who comes in later, we'll have
Always
some
amend it.
latitude on, addressing.
Okay. You got that in there,
So you would add Jennifer's language, recommended language relative to taxability.
Yes.
You would add overall limit of 200 units. You eliminate the one word typo. My three comments just involve the effective date and eliminating the 10% limitation on the commission's authority over parking.
No, I'm not.
Refresh my memory.
I had three recommended conditions. Within the regulation, there's jurisdiction that the commission would have or latitude over the parking within 10%. And my recommendation is to eliminate that altogether and say you have ultimate
So eliminate,
latitude.
eliminate the limitation.
The 10% limitation
Oh,
on the
gotcha.
commission's authority over required parking,
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
which I don't think bothered the applicant either
Okay.
from last meeting.
I like
The other thing is the two-phase requirement, with an overall limit of 200 might be moot, but I think you don't need to have two phases. If someone came back and had 100 units that they wanted to develop, we're saying anything over 125 would require two phases.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm
But
not-
you don't need two phases if it's
Why-
less than
Why were we even
125.
concerned about the
Yeah,
phases?
why are we?
Whether they want to build 50 at once or 200 at once,
Yeah,
why
what's
do we
the
care?
difference?
They offered the phases in an effort to somewhat mitigate the effect of this, again, pointing to the absorption into the market, et cetera. I think his intent would be to come back and ask for 200 units, but they wouldn't build more than 125. The problem I have is the language requires multiple phases or two phases. And if it's under 125 units, that's contradictory.
Yeah,
So just, I don't think the
I
two
would
phases should be.
eliminate the phase request, it's just too confusing, and they're not going to build 200 units all at once.
Anything over 125 should be multiple phases, but we don't need to require two phases if it's less than 125.
Yes.
If you can approve my comment,
Yes, yes, okay.
I think we can work it out.
Yep.
Is that,
Yeah, I think I've got something workable. If,
So, yeah, well, okay.
It leaves us with-
So now let's
in-
deal a little more with
big
the elephant.
yeah, okay, well,
Yeah.
I know, but just,
Yeah.
want me to go this way, Jim?
No, I'm good. So the concern that I have, we know, we talked about it, I don't need to beat a dead horse. And as a practical matter, what worries me is that if we approve this amendment without any reference that it's got to be subject to the fire chief's either approval or when we do the site plan, public health, safety, and welfare is one of the considerations for the site plan, then we don't get the second bite at the apple. You understand what I'm saying?
I
So
think you're exactly right,
the,
Jim.
where I am is I like the Bradley home. I think their application is admirable. I think it's good, but I also, and let me, before I get too far, echo what you said about Bob Criscola. Great guy, most professional guy I've seen. Also have a great regard for, as we all do, for our fire chief, our police chief, and God, our first responders we've seen over the past couple of weeks. Awesome people. But I have that regard for the fire chief, and he's telling us there's a problem. I don't know what's going to happen with the budget. I don't know if we're going to get more people. So he's saying, well, we're going to come back. But I'm worried that when we come back, and if the problem is still the problem, can we, and they come in with a site plan, can they say to us, wait a minute, your standards of the site plan don't include public health, safety, and welfare. So can we approve the amendment, but make sure that one of the things for the site plan is consideration of public health, safety, and welfare? Or something that says something like that. And some time ago, you and I talked about a little bit, is there some language we think we can put in there that we at least can consider it and not have a developer, and it might not even be this developer, as we've talked
Right.
before,
Just what
come
we're
to us and
talking
say,
about.
wait a minute, this is in compliance with your amendment, you can't even do this. Can we put something in there? If
Well,
we
I
can,
think-
then I could buy the amendment.
I think we can, and while we didn't discuss the specifics of that with the applicant, it will be your reg. Under Section D, it says special permits, says the development of an ILFSS may be permitted upon the issuance of a special permit by the Planning and Zoning Commission and upon site plan approval pursuant to all applicable regulations based on the following standards. Then there are articulated 8 different standards with headers such as, bulk requirements, buffer, parking, utilities. And to just add one sentence that would say, a header of health, safety, and welfare.
I think that's what Jim said.
Or due consideration be given to the health, public and safety and welfare of people of North Haven. And I don't know if we add in the fire commission. I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to make sure we have the right to say it
Do add
again.
the fire
And maybe
commission.
the answer is to get that language from town. We could still approve it, but get language in accordance with this discussion from town council to put it in there as an additional line. Doesn't stop them. They would just still come to us. We would just have another chance to have this discussion again of whether there's not enough to take care of that. If we can put that in there, I'm okay with this amendment.
So you're adding a simple standard for health, safety, and welfare. Okay. But do you want to specifically mention any particular service?
Well, that's why I'm saying, I think what you gotta do is talk to Jennifer and see. I'm not saying to do it.
Let's keep it vague.
Well, but
Gives
I
us more
don't,
flexibility.
and you're saying keep it vague, and I don't disagree with you. I just want to make sure people that look at this legally say that that's okay. I don't know, I
Agreed.
don't do
Yeah,
this
I
stuff.
think Jennifer should comment on it, but
Yeah.
I agree with your intent.
Okay, fair enough. If that, you understand what I'm saying to do? Get some language
I
from
do.
Jennifer that gives us a chance to have this discussion when they come in front of us with the site plan.
Mhm.
If that's the case, then I'm willing to vote for this.
Can you,
Yeah, and as you say, we'll keep it simple.
Yeah,
Not anything exhaustive, just that would be,
and then when they come with us with an actual
consideration in
site
the
plan,
special
maybe
permit.
we'll have enough firemen that the fire chief says, we're all good. Let's hope.
Or someone could bring their ambulance service.
Or they can set up another system, whatever, something that a compromise gets worked out. And then with that,
so someone was about to move for an approval with my 3 conditions of approval, the overall limit of 200 units townwide, the town council's language relative to what she had recommended in the letter, and
Absolutely.
eliminating the simple typo with the rental in the language, and adding the standard for health, safety, and welfare.
yes.
So someone was
so
intending to
moved.
make that.
So moved.
Second.
okay. We have that motion. Now I want a second.
I second it.
Okay, Teresa seconded. Do you want any more discussion?
Just what he mentioned about having ambulances on the contract, is that something that we're interested in?
To be honest with you, that's kind of what we're talking
We got
about.
all
Town
that.
already does that.
Okay.
That'll
Okay.
come
We would deal
under
with it
the
in the
clause
site
we
plan.
just talked about for
All right.
public safety.
You okay with it?
Good.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Beautiful. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
The long haul.
Okay, now we go to 83 Half Mile Road, P18 2018-06. What you thinking about the approving it with the sprinkler system in the house?
Well, listen, it's an either-or thing. I understand what the future homeowner has to say, but there's another alternative. They could the owner of the property could put in an hydrant, okay?
Certainly can, but
So it's, that was the deal we thought they made with the fire chief, but I don't know, Ron, that's.
Yeah, I pull building permits all day long.
Me too.
And I never have, and I never will, argue with a fire marshal, because they only care about one thing, and that's keeping people alive. So I think the applicant has two options. I don't care which one they use, but I'm not going to let them out of either. So I would be perfectly happy to approve the application as amended to have the residential sprinkler.
okay, I got a motion? You got a motion?
Yeah, sure, that's a
Okay.
motion.
I got a second?
Sure, second.
I'll second it.
Okay, Rich second.
Rich second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Now, we're down to 40 Middletown Avenue, which is pretty much straightforward.
18-11.
What do you think about this one, Teresa?
I like that something's finally being done on that piece of property. I would like to trade off the island perhaps for the treed and on the north side of the lot. I'd like to get more trees over there. If the rest of the members agree with that, I don't know what. We're getting sidewalks no matter what, right?
Yeah.
Sidewalks are not.
Sidewalks.
In the next 9 years.
Yeah.
You wanna, do you wanna work that out with the applicant?
What's Ron thinking about this?
Yeah, I need Ron.
Well, we've agreed that they're going to add the dumpster and
Yes.
enclosure.
Yes.
I think I agree with the rest of the commission that I would trade that one landscaped island for what the applicant offered, which was 2 additional trees on the northern part of the lot and the sidewalk.
Would you consider those as street trees, or do you want them just?
I would prefer street trees.
Well,
You see what I'm getting at? It's a triangular
Oh,
piece
yeah,
of
yeah.
property, and if you could put them down as on their property, far enough away from the sidewalk so they don't disturb the sidewalk, but put them along parallel with the street.
Just
on
maybe-
subdivision, the standard is 5 feet in from the inside of the sidewalk.
Is that okay, or are you suggesting something different, John?
I would probably go 10 feet.
10 feet.
I have
Yep.
no problem with 10
Then I
feet.
defer to whatever both of
Yeah.
you.
Exactly.
So
We're good.
we're looking probably 2 trees,
Yep,
additional trees?
yep.
below
All right,
that.
and we'll scratch the island and all the other conditions will hold, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay. Did someone have a motion?
So moved.
Okay, make the
Second.
motion.
Second.
Ron made the motion, and Teresa seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, we'll go along to P 18-12 for 11 Universal Drive. We'll also take the CAM with this.
And I'm not on this.
Okay, you are off this, and
Did you decide?
Lou, you
Lou.
are on this.
Okay.
Okay, Ron, you wanna start, or do
Yeah.
you wanna go?
I mean, I'll keep this short and simple. I was not in favor of this application when I first looked at it. but it seems like all of my concerns with noise and dog waste are really not the town concerns, they're really the landlord concerns. And all of the tenants and the neighbors, if they are upset, they're not gonna be upset with us, they're gonna be upset with the landlord. So, that being said, you know, while I don't think it's the greatest place or idea in the world, I don't think we have any legitimate reason to reject it.
My issue is not Banfield, okay? But I just want to point something out. You guys approved a change of use, and you've approved quite a few changes of use. And we've had tenants come back and direct themselves square in your lap, okay? I understand what you're saying. It is a landlord issue. But they will come back to you. So just bear in mind, I'm comfortable with that. That's all right.
Yeah.
You know? But as long as everybody is cognizant of that.
If somebody from Dunkin'
Okay.
Donuts walks in complaining, I'm just gonna direct them to the landlord.
Well, is there a, is
Fair
there,
enough.
is there a?
Fair enough.
Is there a way, well, wait a minute, I mean, what I heard earlier from the commission is maybe we want to hear, we would like the other tenants to come in. We'd like some feedback from them, because if Dunkin' Donuts and the Vitamin Shop feel, you know, those tenants are okay with this, then maybe that will swing somebody's vote. I mean, so maybe we table this for a month?
So you want to table this?
Well, I'm thinking that might be,
And go
that
get some
might be
information?
something that you can't talk.
No, you can't.
Right.
No, sir.
Unfortunately, you can't speak during deliberation.
Just we're in deliberation, sir.
Deliberations, we don't allow anyone to speak.
There's concern they've got timing issues, all that. I don't care. And, you know, to hook into the other tenants, whatever value you place on that,
And
that's fine.
I personally think
But-
it's a poor business decision to do this without talking to the tenants, but they're not my tenants.
No, you know,
And, yeah. I mean,
If you decide to do that, what are you requiring them to do? To just notify, or are you requiring them to get agreeance? You know, I think that's a broad task.
I mean, I think they should be notified to know what's exactly going on there, since this is something brand new to the town.
So you're just looking at notifying, are you saying you want input back? Are you saying?
I mean, that's my feeling.
My motion wouldn't include that. I mean,
You didn't make a motion.
if
I don't want
the
input.
tenants get pissed off at these guys, that's their problem. It's
I don't
not-
want
That's not
input,
what I-
it's
that-
notification. Well, what does everyone else think over there? What does the corner over there think?
What do you say? Lou?
I certainly
Oh,
think that you
okay.
should have input from the other tenants. Whether
No,
that's-
what was that?
I think there should be input from the other tenants.
Okay.
This is not just a change of use of, you know, going from whatever, a restaurant to a hardware store or a package store. The animals would make, I think, the potential of having a major impact in that parking lot.
Okay. Lou?
I think they got total disregard for the other tenants. By not notifying them, just to say that it's their headache after, doesn't float with me. I don't like the idea at all.
So you think we should notify the tenants?
What could they speak? The public hearing is over.
Hmm?
They can't speak against it, the public hearing
No,
is
no,
over.
we're in deliberation.
Well,
No, if we.
No, in
if we
other words, it's
notify
a
the
site
tenants,
plan, not a
And
public
they come the
hearing.
next
when
time.
No.
So they can't speak.
No.
They can't speak.
They can't
So-
speak, and
Maybe
there's
we
no
need to make a
particular
decision.
public input. If you want them to notify those other tenants, you know, there's that's an option, but then what are you gonna do? beyond that, if you're looking for input, then you really are crossing.
Right, no, I don't think we can ask for any input. I think
Yeah, I mean,
if,
my position, I would agree with you guys completely if these were separate property owners, if they were neighbors. I'd agree with you 100%. But they're just tenants on one piece of parcel. If Dunkin' Donuts doesn't like it, and these guys can't make them happy, Dunkin' Donuts can move. They're just tenants, they're not property owners.
It's not that easy to break leases.
I'm just saying, and from my perspective, it's not our problem, it's their problem. They're tenants and landlords. It's not something I would do, but no, sorry. It's not something I would do, but I don't think we have a reason to deny it.
I do.
We're representing the town, and you say it's their problem, but we're representing the town and the people that are here, as well as these people. We want to give these people a fair shot at it, but I want to give the people that are here a fair shot at it.
Just telling you how I feel.
look, I'm trying to respect both sides here.
Of course.
I would, the only thing I can go for right now is tabling it and just asking for input, and then we make a decision. But we can't ask for more than that. And I agree really that it's a landlord decision. But it seems like there's other people on the board who want more information, so feeling the way it might go, I think maybe tabling might be the best thing to do for everybody here.
You making a motion?
But if you're going to give them the direction, though,
We
in
need to
terms
give
of what to do, you're on a fine line in terms of asking for input.
I don't want input. I just said no input. I made it clear, no input. I think
So you'd say to just notify.
I think what people are asking on the board is to just let
Just to
them
think
know
of-
that the other neighbors, the tenants, are been notified of
So I'm
what's going in
confused.
there.
What are we saying? That we're going to delay the vote till next month, but nothing will change?
I'm not
Oh,
saying
since
that.
it's delaying it then.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay,
yeah.
then I'm not the chair. I mean,
Listen, we'll take the motion.
I mean,
Give me a mo-
I will
hold-
make a
stand by.
motion.
No,
I'll make
don't make a motion. A motion to go out of deliberation.
to go out of deliberation.
Make a motion to go out of deliberation.
I make a motion to go out of deliberation.
second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The relationship between the other tenants and our landlord is a completely separate matter. They have leases with Kimco. Those leases, I promise you, say that they are entitled to the quiet possession of their property. If they have an issue with Banfield, and we're confident that they won't, based upon the vast experience that Banfield has within Kimco shopping centers, their sole and exclusive remedy is under their lease. They are not a property owner. They are not classically aggrieved. They can't take an appeal. They have no right to be the arbiter or to as to whether or not Banfield can come to this location. That's a real property matter. You're a zoning commission. This is no different than, let's say, for instance, a neighbor had an easement over their neighbor's property, and the neighbor came before you and said, "I want to, put my shed on this particular piece of property or this area of the piece of property," and the neighbor says, "We can't do that because I have an easement." That's none of your concern. That's a real property matter. This is no different. This is a leasing issue between Dunkin' Donuts and Kimco and Vitamin Shoppe and Kimco, and has no relationship with regard to Banfield and particularly with this commission. There's nothing in your regulations with which we don't comply. There's nothing in your regulations that say you are entitled to take into account the other tenants in the area. Based upon the 55 other centers or facilities that Banfield has in other Kimco locations, and literally the 1,000 locations they have in shopping centers across the country, there won't be an issue. And to the extent that there is, and we're confident there won't, their rights will come under their lease, not with this commission. There's no provision in your regulations with which we don't comply. This is a site plan application. That's it. There's nothing in your regulations that says anything about...
Listen, What you're saying, I understand very clearly.
So that relationship between a landlord and tenant is completely and separate apart from a land use decision or a land use issue. I understand you have a concern for other businesses in the town. Your taxpayer is Kimco. They have an obligation to satisfy their tenants. This commission does not have an obligation to satisfy Kimco's tenants.
Listen, I know what you're saying, and I understand the grounds that you're standing on, and I understand exactly what you're saying. But the fact of the matter is, Ron has no concern about the neighbors, and Teresa.
I didn't say I have no concern. I'm saying I agree with what he just said.
Right.
It's different from not, with no concern.
Just stand by. And Teresa seems to have not so much of a problem with the neighbors. You like it rephrased. But I do. I would like the neighbors to know that you're coming. That's all I'd like to know.
Even if this were a special permit, I would still argue that you don't have a basis on which to deny the application. Even more so as a site plan application.
I know that.
Because we comply in all respects to every regulation on the books.
Okay.
Well, the only issue, and I agree with what you're saying, I think that there's no issue about the use, and I agree with everything you've said about public input. There's just no particular venue, and I know Teresa's not asking for that. I know,
Right.
But I disagree in that under section 10.1.2 under standards, there are standards for the site plan which list adequate, convenient, safe vehicular, pedestrian circulation system, et cetera, et cetera. So there's some certain standards that are there that you're judging to. You're not necessarily evaluating this particular use in this zone, but you are evaluating the way that it would be done in that sense.
We would be happy to Kimco representative just told me we'd be happy to notify the tenants on either side tomorrow. I mean, if you want to approve it with the condition that they be notified, and we will supply the commission with the letter, certified letter, or whatever manner, shape, or form of notification you want to administer, we will notify the neighbor on both sides of us that this application is coming. And to the extent that they have any objection, they can deal with Kimco about it. I mean, I frankly, I think that's, I understand and appreciate your concerns for the other businesses, but that's really not under your purview. I mean, are you concerned when a Chevy dealer opens up next to a Ford dealer for the the fact that it may implicate the Chevy dealer's business? That's not a zoning issue. That's a competition issue. This is a landlord-tenant issue, not a zoning issue.
Okay, I think we understand that.
Well, one thing we'll do, we'll agree to disagree, but in any event, we'll just let it be at the moment and talk it over. We'll go back into deliberation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Make a motion to go into deliberation.
I will second that.
Okay. Okay. Do you want the neighbors to be notified?
Are we talking about approving or not approving it tonight?
We'll take a vote on it right now.
So would be a motion to vote tonight with the neighbors receiving notification?
Mm-hmm.
Could do that. Yeah, I mean, they're going to find out pretty soon anyway.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
What's the motion?
To approve the application with the
Okay.
condition that the
Neighbors
adjoining neighbors be notified within 24 hours.
Tenants, please.
Tenants.
Tenants,
Sorry.
What's that gonna
I don't think anything.
He doesn't want anything.
Not gonna prove nothing. They should have been notified a month ago.
We don't have that.
No, this-
That's not our right, Lou. It's
It's
not.
not.
We can't do that.
It's not in
Well,
there.
if I owned the Dunkin' Donuts, I would complain about it.
Yeah, I understand, but that's, what it is what it is. Okay, in any event, what we got here is we have a motion, we have an application here that we gotta make a motion, we gotta take a motion on very soon, and,
We have a motion.
I have one.
Teresa made a motion
you made a motion?
Yes,
Yeah,
a motion,
to
a
approve.
motion to approve with notification of the neighboring tenants.
Okay, and do I have
I'll second that.
You'll second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm not in favor of that.
You're not in favor of it?
No.
What are you in favor of?
I don't know, I don't feel comfortable in doing it, but,
What would you propose as an alternate?
well, I guess it's after the fact.
Come up,
There's-
you gotta
there
come
is
up
no
with
more
something, Rich, because these
information
people
that
came a
come in.
long
So-
ways, and I wanna be more than fair with them.
I'll vote in favor of it.
I'm sorry?
I will change my vote and vote in favor of it.
Well, they said they would be willing to
Right, yeah, they're gonna come, they'll notify the neighbors.
if they would notify, and certainly, I would like to know what their opinion are, even though you're going, I want to know what the opinion is of the neighbors. Not that it's going to make any difference.
It's not gonna make any difference.
No. Okay. Okay, all in
I think
favor, you're in
you've gotta
favor, you're in favor.
vote it
We have
through.
3 in favor.
I'm in favor.
Okay. The motion carries 3-2.
Where are we, 3-2?
3-2.
So, the no
So-
is both of those.
No.
No.
Vern and,
Me and.
Vern and Lou are no.
Vern and Lou.
Yeah. Okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay, so you voted the site plan, you approved it, you got the CAM now.
We got the camera to take
Make a
place.
motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed? Cam is a, Cam,
The
Okay.
CAM was-
Well, do we
Cam.
have 2 opposed or not for that?
No.
You in favor of the CAM approval also?
Yeah.
Same 3 against 2.
3 against 2.
okay. Now we're down to the extension on 311. Good night, gentlemen.
I'm back in.
311 Washington Avenue.
Now, first we got the extension, right?
Yeah, the extension for Clintonville Road.
I'll make a motion, we approve the extension, they've
I'll
got,
second that.
Okay, that's 518 Clintonville.
Yes.
yes.
Well, we got,
Got a vote?
See,
I made a motion, Ron seconded
Sorry.
it.
I'll shift.
No, we didn't have a vote yet.
We're gonna call for
We're waiting for Vern. You want, it's an
okay,
extension.
we want to take a vote for the extension on Clintonville Road.
They've been-
518 Clintonville Road, the extension.
Right, they've been delayed by administrative inertia at the Connecticut Department of Housing. How surprising is that?
Yes, that's a shock to me.
So I make a motion that we give them the extension. And Ron
Call for a
second.
vote?
We have a vote?
Did you get a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
now are you going back and deal with the Blue Hills Road
Oh, yeah, yeah. we-
situation?
Well, I was going to go there.
Why don't you let the
I'm
lady,
sorry.
why don't you
You're
do
right,
that last,
Vern.
get the ladies out of here?
Yeah, can we please
Yeah, let's
let
do
the
the
2
change of
women get out of
uses.
here?
Okay, we've got this other on Blue Hills Road.
No,
We're
no,
gonna do
change of
311
use.
Change of
Get
use?
these ladies out of here.
Oh, these
I make a
changes.
motion that we approve the 311 Washington
I'll
Avenue.
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I will make a motion that we approve
411.
411, also known as 323 Universal Drive.
Please note I'm not on that one.
Second.
Lou's back on that one.
Lou?
Gotcha.
Teresa.
Okay.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
That was quick.
So excited. Bring your dog, bring your dog.
Thank you.
You guys will be invited to the grand opening.
Okay, what correspondence?
No, we gotta do.
Where we go. Nobody
Now we
cares.
have,
The water line extension. They're
Right.
looking for some sort of
Oh,
motion from us.
Who's this?
Do you need an
this is Manera.
Yes.
I thought we had that worked out.
I guess so.
Yeah, but Alan wants a motion.
Okay.
Yeah,
want
absolutely. If
that?
you're gonna designate us to deal with it, we need
Can
something.
you word the motion that you would like made?
I could, but nobody would like that.
All right,
Could you word?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that the issue on Blue Hills and Kings Highway subdivision be dealt with administratively by Alan, Jonathan, and Town Council, with the understanding that the, how do you say, bring up of the line? That the
Yeah,
extension
bring
of
the
the
water
line,
line.
if the cost of that is $92,000, you are directed that you bear that as one of the things that we want to be sure can still happen. The suggestion was that perhaps put a bond for $92,000 for the whole thing. That would be, to my understanding, acceptable to the entire commission. And then we could work it out later, but at least the money would be there to make
Yep.
sure it was done.
And the line
That's
would
my
be up
motion.
And I will second that motion,
Okay.
that long motion.
Can you translate that?
Oh, that's good. Did you
Let
get
him,
that?
let you write it up.
Pam?
You understand what we're saying?
Did you get it?
So not to rework the wheel, not to rework how we're gonna legally pass the money off, but at least put the money aside so that if the ultimate decision is that they have to bring it up, the money's there to bring it up. That make sense?
Makes sense.
Excuse me. I understand, they got water in the house, but they can't get a CO? How do they get water in the house?
They connected to the water on Blue Hills Road and designated an area to be granted as an easement for that pipe running over Lot 2, this property.
We're asking permission for something
Two
they've
or
already
one.
done.
Lou, the reason they didn't get the CO, the house is ready to go. It sounds like the
Yeah.
reason they didn't get it is because when building goes and asks for the planning and zoning sign off, they didn't do what
They
the
were
plan
supposed to
called
do
for.
Well, they never do what they're supposed to do.
Well, but then,
Well,
but
follow the track record.
our building official said, nope, you gotta go comply or we're not gonna give you a sign off. That's kind
Okay,
of,
that's all I wanna know.
our land use
I just
people
wanna
said,
know.
no
I
sign
mean, they
off.
said they had water, couldn't get a CO, I wanna know how they got the water.
They're asking,
They bought
They brought it
it
into the
illegally.
site.
they're asking
Well, I don't know
forgiveness
about
instead of
illegally.
permission.
Not illegally, but at least,
They brought it in a different way than was represented on the plan.
Okay, what do you got in correspondence?
So that enough definition for you, Alan? Because
Yeah, I think so, and...
our people are saying that you're gonna have to write that motion up.
Yes.
And I'm okay with that.
So motion to designate us, et cetera, made by Jim Giletti. Do we have a second?
I
Ron
second it.
seconded already.
All right, and the vote on that?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Vern said that, by the way.
That I've got.
Okay, correspondence, go ahead.
Couple things.
Ask for correspondence,
The
Ron.
planning and zoning newsletter you've got. Pullman and Comley has a letter that we copied you on, and it's gonna be a big deal.
Yeah.
We've asked for a legal opinion on jurisdiction over this matter. Citing council has it. We're gonna find out, we don't need to know right at this second, but we've been investigating that as to what our rights are, so.
Do they have to tell us what it is they're planning? I mean, we don't have anything.
My contention is,
It won't
yes,
make no difference,
they
no.
had to tell the town, but the question is, in terms of the particular work, do they have to come to these commissions? That's the question.
So what is it? What are they putting up?
It's a solar array.
What size?
You ever see them on the
Yes.
side of the road? They're just solar
North end of the
panels.
cemetery. What
They have them on the
This
size
is
side
the
of the
size of the
road.
cemetery over there.
I don't
Well,
recall.
I thought
We'd
you
have to
said
get
they
back.
told the town.
They did. I don't recall what it was.
And I don't believe they have to come to any commission like ours.
Not if
Yeah,
it's just income.
I've
I
done too
believe
much
they
of their
do,
work.
and it's based on some earlier applications such as cell towers,
Right.
where they've had to come before the commission.
Who's
so-
had to come before the commission?
I think they only have to notify us. I don't think they have to come in front of us.
We've had hearings on 2 different cell towers.
On cell towers, you do.
Well,
But
here's the,
Who's bringing this forward? Who's proposing it? The state?
No.
no.
Who's proposing it?
GRE,
Church.
CA Crux LLC, these people.
Uh-huh.
Well, effectively, the owner is, which is the cemetery, the Archdiocese,
cemetery.
Catholic
But
cemetery.
right now,
What is- who it is?
they're under Public Act 490. Their taxes farmland, just put up, what's it gonna be taxed as?
I don't know if that's gonna change things a bit, but that'll be, they will have to comply.
Whatever.
But the question is, we've referred it, and we copied you on the letter.
Good, go
and
get
we'll
'em.
see. We'll see what happens.
You mean they're gonna be able to keep that in Public Act 490?
I don't know.
We don't know yet.
I don't know about that. No, I would say not necessarily.
We should be able to, the town should be able to get some tax on it.
But perhaps, I don't think that's the issue yet, it's just how to get it approved. I think you're absolutely correct, and.
Right now, they're gonna get away with
Yeah.
murder.
Okay.
But that'll
Good
be
enough.
sort
Is
of a
there anything
secondary
else?
issue.
I need a motion to approve April's 2nd minutes.
You owe my
I
time.
make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Crazy. Okay.
Say all in
Call for a
favor.
vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm surprised you didn't do that.
Make a motion to adjourn.
That a boy, Jim.
I second.
You gotta make a motion.
Aye.
Jimmy.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.